A man attempts to walk away until a woman reveals she was his high school desk mate. He remembers her being much heavier in the past and is shocked by her stunning transformation. Overwhelmed with regret for missing his chance, he desperately wishes he could go back in time. Suddenly, he is transported back to senior high, watching his old friend snack on chips. In this timeline, she loses weight but confesses her love for another man, leaving him defeated. He begs for one more chance to change his fate and get the girl. This time, he encourages her to keep eating so she will stay exactly as she is. 2 years later, they are finally together, though the reality of his choice starts to sink in. A young man paces his room, trying to decide how to balance his busy schedule. He weighs the pros and cons of watching a ball game versus going shopping with a partner. The local derby is today, and he feels he simply cannot miss the action. He worries that choosing the game will cause a major conflict in his relationship. He suddenly realizes the truth. He doesn't even have a girlfriend. This epiphany brings him an immediate sense of relief and joy. He relaxes on the couch with his drinks, fully satisfied with his peaceful solitude. After reading a lucky horoscope, he decides it is the perfect day to confess his love. Nearby, a woman in a pink dress notices a wallet left behind on a park bench. He rushes toward her with the wallet, hoping this encounter will lead to a romantic breakthrough. The plan fails, leaving him alone and confused by the supposedly lucky result. A man reflects on his past relationship with a beautiful partner who always supported him. His story ends in tragedy as he mourns her passing at her bedside. Another man recalls having a sweet girlfriend who stayed by his side through everything. He breaks down in tears after she eventually leaves him for a wealthy billionaire. A third man boasts about having a partner who is incredibly agreeable and never says no. His world crumbles when his favorite keepsake suddenly loses all its air and goes flat. A student reads a guide on how to please a girl by learning her specific preferences. He meets a girl for coffee and asks her what her favorite color is. She begins listing several colors, including red, green, orange, and purple. He diligently takes notes, determined to remember every single detail she shares. He soon realizes that all her favorite colors perfectly match the different denominations of local currency. A student practices his basketball shots on outdoor court. He uses his skills to impress a girl, handing her the ball while a nearby spectator takes note of the strategy. Another student decides to try a different sport to get attention, but his choice of a heavy shot put ball is far too intense. He launches the heavy metal ball toward the unsuspecting girl, resulting in a disastrous outcome. A small white puppy runs through a park, barking happily. A girl notices the dog and finds it incredibly charming. The owner approaches and apologizes for any trouble while the girl continues to pet the friendly animal. She tells him she loves small animals, appearing very pleased by the interaction. The owner asks her to play with the dog for a bit, creating a perfect opening for a conversation. Watching from afar, another man realizes that using a pet is an effective way to start a conversation. He finds a cute puppy of his own to try out the tactic. He approaches a girl and introduces himself as the pet's owner. Embarrassed by an awkward situation, the man suggests they go find the dog's actual owner. A different student brainstorms ways to get closer to his crush and decides to demonstrate his physical strength. He shows off by sitting in an invisible chair position and suggests his legs can support another person. The girl is impressed by his stability and seems eager to see the result. Instead of the girl, a very large man sits on his lap, leaving the student struggling under the immense weight. A couple walks together, with the girl claiming she isn't interested in superficial things. She insists that true love isn't built on unrealistic romantic gestures like receiving hundreds of roses. Suddenly, another suitor appears and offers her a box filled with stacks of cash instead of flowers. She immediately abandons her previous date for the man with the money, proving her priorities are strictly financial. A student studies fashion and makeup tips on his phone to learn how to properly compliment women. He prepares to outshine other men who are giving generic compliments to a popular girl. He steps in and offers a very specific comment about how her lip gloss complements her skin tone. He continues with detailed praise about her makeup brand, her designer bag, and her hair color, leaving her delighted. He smirks to himself, feeling confident that he has successfully defeated his rivals. His plan backfires when the other men assume he has different interests, and the girl decides they should just be best friends. A radio host named Roman takes a call from a listener seeking advice on how to create a romantic atmosphere. The caller follows the suggestion to dig a heart-shaped ditch and fill it with gasoline for a grand gesture. Panic sets in as the man asks the host how to rescue his date from the center of the intense blaze he just started. The woman stands surrounded by a ring of fire, shouting for assistance after the romantic plan goes horribly wrong. Another suitor offers to take photos of two friends, hoping his camera skills will win them over. The blonde girl poses for the camera and questions if the results will actually look good. She is initially impressed by the high quality of the professional-looking shots displayed on the screen. The man feels like he's making progress as she compliments his ability to capture her beauty. However, her expression quickly changes as she begins to scroll further back into the camera's memory. She discovers a series of awkward and unflattering candid shots he took without her knowing, leading to an immediate confrontation. Hoping for a classic romantic moment, The man brings out a box of snacks to share with his crush. He envisions a cinematic scene where they share a single snack and end up in a close embrace. He enthusiastically invites her to eat with him, and she surprisingly agrees to the offer. The romantic dream is crushed when she simply takes her own snack and eats it separately while they sit in silence. After being rejected by multiple women for not meeting their strict financial and physical standards, the man feels hopeless. He spots a girl he believes might have more reasonable expectations and decides to approach her. When asked about her criteria for a partner, the girl begins to list her specific requirements. She mentions modest numbers for traits like talent and hard work, giving him a false sense of confidence. His hope is instantly shattered when she reveals her scoring system is out of 100 and her appearance requirement is nearly perfect. Later, the girl mentions that she admires men who are direct and can throw their ball straight when they need to. Taking the metaphor literally, the man thinks he finally knows exactly how to impress her. He steps back and prepares to launch a baseball with maximum effort to prove his worth. He throws the ball with incredible force, hitting her directly in the chest and knocking her backward. While the man celebrates his accurate throw, the girl lies on the ground needing an ambulance while her friend panics. A man approaches a woman at a cafe, but she has no idea who he is. He tries to jog her memory by bringing up a time in school when she and her friends were caught with forbidden magazines. He recalls how a boy took the blame for the incident and received a serious penalty. The woman is fuming after he proudly admits he was actually the snitch who reported them to the school leaders. While walking together later, he asks her to be his girlfriend, and she cautiously agrees as long as he stays grounded. He immediately ruins the mood by asking her to spend the night at his house. She storms away in anger while he desperately yells that he isn't being weird. In another part of town, a girl is happily chatting on her phone when a hand suddenly knocks the device right out of her hand. A stylish man catches the falling phone in a smooth, dramatic gesture. He flashes a charming smile while asking if the phone belongs to her. The girl is completely starstruck, thinking she's living out a scene from a romantic drama. The romantic moment ends instantly as the man sprints away, shouting that the phone belongs to him now. Moving to a legendary tale, a powerful deity orders her guards to tear a pair of lovers away from each other. The two are forcibly separated, despite their desperate cries to stay together. The deity explains that a fairy cannot be with a man who doesn't even have a job. He defends himself by shouting that he's a cowboy, using a term that carries a very different professional meaning in certain circles. The deity is caught off guard and blushes as she realizes the implication of his career choice. Back at the cafe, a woman explains that she prefers men who are cultured and dislikes those who are shallow. The man tries to impress her by claiming that his favorite hobby is reading. He seems shocked to find out that she also enjoys reading, though he is clearly thinking of a different genre. He starts nerding out over ninja series and doing hand signs, causing her to walk out on the spot. A suitor attempts to use astrology to woo a girl while a rival stands nearby. He confidently claims their zodiac signs make them a perfect match. Believing astrology is the ultimate dating hack, he feels victory is within reach. The girl asks the other man for his sign, but he shuts the conversation down by mentioning he owns a luxury shop. Devastated that wealth trumped his star signs, the suitor is left in tears as the pair walks away. Undeterred, the man attempts to give the girl a single rose while a rival walks by with a massive bouquet. He insists that the specific number of flowers holds a deeper, more profound meaning. He explains the symbolism of large quantities, like 99 roses representing eternity. He continues the breakdown, noting that 2 roses represent a couple's exclusive bond. He builds up the tension as he prepares to explain the significance of his solitary flower. The romantic atmosphere shatters when he admits a single rose is just cheaper, earning him a punch to the face. A scientist critiques the physics of a famous flying gadget, calling the design completely illogical. He proposes a new version with chin straps, arguing that human hair isn't strong enough to lift a person. The girl is impressed by the scientific breakthrough and eagerly thanks the inventor. She secures the straps under her chin, preparing for a test flight of the new device. The system activates and begins lifting her, but the design causes significant physical strain. The inventor watches helplessly as his subject floats away because he forgot to install a stop button. Panicked by the outcome of his experiment, the scientist calls emergency services to discuss the legal implications of his mistake. A young man spots a social media post from his crush stating she isn't feeling well. His friend suggests that giving the right gift is the key to comforting a sick person. The friend mentions that a CB is the best cure, which the protagonist misinterprets as Chinese buns. A spark of misguided realization hits the young man as he thinks he has found the solution. He rushes off to find the gift, while his friend stays behind, doubting his interpretation of the luxury brand acronym. The girl arrives to meet him, wondering why he requested her presence. He announces that he has brought a special remedy to help her recover. He presents a selection of steamed buns as a medical cure, much to the girl's confusion, offended by the snack-based gesture. The girl storms off and leaves him in the dirt. A student laments to his master about a girl who does not return his feelings. He expresses his frustration by physically striking the table in despair. The master advises him to broaden his perspective and appreciate those who are always by his side. Eager for a new lead, the student asks for the identity of this loyal individual. The master gives a vague description of a companion who assists him through difficult times, but is often neglected. The lesson ends with the master handing over some hand cream, clarifying that the loyal companion is just the student's own hand. A man focuses intensely on his fitness, alternating between heavy dumbbell curls and one-handed push-ups. While performing pull-ups, he is questioned by a woman about why he only trains his left side. He reveals a disproportionately massive right arm, citing decades of single life as the reason for its strength. On a date, a woman tests her companion by asking him to spot the change in her appearance. The man confidently identifies her new lipstick, surprising her with his observation skills. He goes further by naming the specific luxury brand, shade number, and retail price of the cosmetic. The woman offers him a chance to try it, handing over the actual tube instead of a romantic gesture. Looking defeated, he heads toward the restroom to apply the cosmetic item himself as requested. Inspired by culinary art, a man decides to create a masterpiece by blending food with visual design. He strikes a determined pose as he formulates a plan to impress his crush with an edible creation. The man presents a wrapped lunchbox to his dream lady, claiming it is a special work of art. Upon opening the container, the woman reacts with pure horror at the sight of the meal. The lunchbox reveals a grotesque, monster-like face constructed from various food items. A digital knight sits under a tree, mourning his lack of romantic prospects in the virtual world. He suddenly hears a cry for help and spots a female player being pursued by a creature. The knight intervenes with a powerful punch, knocking the monster away to save the girl. He maintains a stoic and heroic demeanor while the rescued player looks on. The girl avatar blushes and expresses her gratitude to the brave warrior. The knight offers his continued protection, unaware of the reality behind the screen. The man playing the knight celebrates his supposed luck at finally meeting a female companion. On the other side, a different man laughs at his computer, revealing the girl avatar was just bait. A man notices his crush is upset after losing a singing contest and plans to cheer her up. He attempts to be humorous by suggesting she quit singing to become a comedian instead. The woman retaliates with a strike and storms off, leaving him with a bruised head. A guy greets his dream lady after her trip, commenting on her new look. She appreciates the compliment as they chat outdoors. However, he ruins the mood by joking about not being able to see her in the dark. Another pair plans a movie date, and the girl reminds him to bring his ID card. He initially brushes it off, but she insists he take it along. The guy suddenly realizes what she might be implying by needing identification for certain venues. He gets overexcited, thinking their relationship is moving to a new stage, but he completely misses the mark, inviting her to a gaming cafe that requires ID for entry. His total lack of awareness earns him a swift slap across the face. In a post-apocalyptic setting, a girl wonders if they are the last two humans on Earth. She suggests they take responsibility for the future of the human race. The guy gets fired up, determined to take immediate action. He runs off to prepare, leaving her waiting for his return. Instead of what she expected, he returns with a heavy pack and a flashlight to search for other survivors. During a major shopping holiday, a girl presents a gift to a boy. The couple heads into a nearby building together after the exchange. Seeing this, a lonely guy nearby begins to sob over his single status. Suddenly, a girl approaches him with a gift in hand, asking if he would like one. He is instantly smitten, thinking his luck has finally changed. She grabs his arm and leads him toward a storefront. It turns out she was just a sales promoter for a discount shop selling gifts specifically for single people. Later, a man confesses his feelings to his dream lady, asking her to go steady. She gently rejects him, explaining she already has a boyfriend. He pledges to always stand right behind her, no matter what happens. He takes his promise way too literally, trailing right behind her through the streets and shops. The guy even follows her all the way to the entrance of a private restroom. Fed up with the constant shadowing, she turns around and labels him a stalker. Shunrai, a martial arts expert, starts an online relationship. She meets her date for a lavish dinner where he insists on covering the bill. The man asks her to close her eyes, promising a big surprise. Shunrai waits with anticipation, expecting a romantic gift. Minutes pass in silence until a waiter finally interrupts her wait. The waiter presents a massive bill, explaining that her date has already fled the scene. Infuriated by the scam, she uses her martial arts to demolish the dining table. A new suitor decides to use flattery to get on her good side. He calls her dress gracious in an attempt to charm her. Flattered, she asks for a specific comparison of its beauty. The mood dies instantly when he compares her dress pattern to his grandmother's bed sheets. A scientist seeks advice on finding a heart-shaped gift for his crush's birthday. His friend suggests a romantic gesture that will leave her deeply touched. The scientist presents a wrapped gift box to the woman. The gift turns out to be a literal, medically accurate accurate anatomical model. A couple competes in a video game, resulting in the woman's defeat. The man offers a condescending consolation, annoying her further. He later tries to compliment her improved gaming skills to make amends. He ruins the moment by making a crude remark about her gaining experience from other men. Outraged by the insult, she strikes him in a fit of rage. After a long shift, a woman hopes for some comfort to ease her exhaustion. Beta sends a text promising a surprise delivery to help her through the overtime. A delivery man arrives at the office holding a large bouquet of roses. The romance vanishes when the courier reveals the flowers were sent freight collect, forcing her to pay. A father asks his son why he hasn't found a girlfriend yet, only for the boy to admit he has no idea how to confess his feelings. The dad offers a bit of questionable advice, suggesting that he should try to strike up a conversation by any means necessary. He recounts a story of an uncle who tried to meet a woman by intentionally bumping his car into hers. Unfortunately, the plan backfired when the woman turned out to be driving a heavy-duty construction vehicle, leading the uncle straight to an early grave. Later, a young woman watches the boy from her window, hoping he finally finds the courage to give her a call. Standing outside, the boy stares intensely at his phone while wearing a shirt that clearly states his intentions. The woman finds his shyness adorable and decides she will go out with him if he calls within the next 10 minutes. He finally rings her up, but instead of asking for a date, he just wants her Wi-Fi password because he couldn't hack into it. In another attempt at romance, the boy presents a gift of 99 handcrafted paper hearts to a girl named Vivi. Vivi finds the gesture completely childish and walks away, leaving the paper crafts scattered on the ground. Moments later, a much more stylish guy approaches her with the exact same gift of folded hearts. The first boy watches in total shock, wondering how the same gift could get such a different reaction. Vivi is absolutely charmed by the second guy's gift, calling the gesture incredibly romantic. The first boy demands to know why his version failed when they both do the exact same thing. The stylish rival coolly explains that the secret to his success was the specific type of paper he chose to use. The boy tries to defend his high-end stationery, claiming his paper was the best quality available. The rival reveals the crushing truth. He used actual currency to fold his hearts, leaving the boy face down in defeat. Trying a more sentimental approach, the boy hands a drawing to the woman he likes while they stand near a windmill. The paper features a crude sketch of a house, which leaves the woman feeling a bit confused. He explains that since he can't afford a real home yet, the drawing is a promise for their future life together. He then reveals a second drawing of a limousine, doubling down on his grand promises of luxury. The woman is initially moved to tears by what she thinks is a sincere and heartfelt gesture. However, the mood is ruined when he starts listing every basic necessity he can't afford, from phones to lunch. Back at home, the boy mopes about his latest rejection while his father tells him not to give up so easily. The dad claims he used to write and hand-deliver a massive amount of love letters back in his younger days. He gets fired up, explaining that even after being rejected by countless women, he kept moving forward with his deliveries. The son gets excited, thinking his dad's persistence eventually led him to find true love. Instead, the father reveals that all that practice simply helped him build the skills to become a professional courier. A girl rejects a suitor under an umbrella, citing his lack of ambition and cheap car as deal breakers. She walks away in the rain, leaving him to dwell on her harsh words. Later, she is shocked when a massive excavator arm suddenly appears before her. Her former suitor is revealed as the operator, returning with a bold new proposal. He explains he earned multiple heavy machinery licenses just to meet her standards, but she remains unimpressed. A man promises his date a display of his special skills once they return home. The woman waits expectantly, anticipating a romantic or impressive gesture. Instead, he drops to the floor and begins barking like a dog, completely ruining the atmosphere. A man accidentally drops a coin into a sewer grate while at a vending machine. A mysterious figure emerges from the drain, offering to grant a wish in exchange for the lost coin. The man wishes for a dramatic, unforgettable encounter with his dream girl. He is immediately hospitalized after a car accident, fulfilling the request for a dramatic event. A woman arrives at the clinic to provide a vital blood transfusion. The doctor introduces her as his long-lost sister, subverting his romantic expectations. A man stands in a spotlight and begs for a girlfriend. A divine entity appears and presents a variety of potential partners. The options include an athletic woman with a fit physique. A more mature woman is offered as the final choice. The man greedily asks for a combination of all three women. The wish is granted by adding their weights together, resulting in one massive partner. Two friends decide to share a bed after the subway closes for the night. The next morning, one friend wakes up feeling blissfully happy about a vivid dream. The other friend describes a dream involving a difficult gardening task with stubborn mushrooms. They initially find their strange dreams amusing and laugh together. A sudden realization of what occurred during the night leads to mutual disgust. A man in a lab coat checks his messages and sees a girl's dream of a suitor on a white horse. He gets a bright idea to fulfill her wish literally. The girl hears approaching hoofbeats while waiting in the street. He arrives riding a white horse while dressed as a historical monk. His literal interpretation leaves her completely unimpressed and awkward. A man prepares to drop a coin into a sewer grate, to make a wish. The currency slips through the metal slots. A self-proclaimed river god emerges from the drain in a cloud of smoke. The man demands to be surrounded by girls while confronting the spirit. The river god uses his powers to grant the request instantly. The man finds himself as a host on a televised dating show. A deity appears, promising to answer yes to every prayer. One person wishes for wealth and is immediately showered in cash. Another man asks for power and becomes a world leader. The third man asks if he will be single forever, and the deity's yes leaves him devastated. A photo shows a conventionally attractive man used as motivation. A student works tirelessly at her desk, hoping to marry someone successful. She celebrates achieving second place on her recent academic transcript. She wonders what motivates the top student to work even harder. A collection of photos shows 3 very unappealing potential suitors. The top student studies out of fear, as failing would mean having to date one of them. A man tries to pry into a girl's personal information during a meal. She shuts him down, explaining that her weight is a private matter. He hands over a gift, claiming he has the perfect solution. She is offended to find he bought her a scale just to get the answer. A woman pulls up in a brand new car and invites a man to join her for a ride. The man admits he lacks a license, while the woman suddenly realizes she is missing an important undergarment. He suggests she return home to put it on, leading her to believe he is acting like a perfect gentleman. Her admiration vanishes when he explains he is only worried the cold weather will affect her physical health. A student observes a couple and realizes that noticing a girl's new hairstyle is the key to making a good impression. On the first day of his mission, he carefully studies a blonde girl's hair to ensure he catches any future changes. Another student swoops in and compliments her new bangs, leaving the first guy frustrated that he missed the detail. He vows to look even closer next time to avoid another failure. On the second day, the girl straightens her hair, but the guy is unable to detect any difference at all. By the third day, the girl has dyed her hair bright pink, yet the guy remains completely oblivious to the change. On the fourth day, he senses something is different but struggles to identify what it could be. He begins to panic, fearing that failing to notice will make him look like a social pariah. After she mentions her hair is easier to manage, he confidently but incorrectly guesses that she must be going bald. His rude assumption earns him a painful slap and a swollen face. The girls discuss how a man should naturally step in to help during an embarrassing situation. The guy imagines a scenario where he takes the blame for a girl's flatulence while they are stuck in an elevator. When a sudden sound occurs, he immediately shouts that it was him to save her reputation. To his horror, a large man standing nearby reveals that he was actually the one responsible for the noise. The guy is mortified by his blunder, though the girl finds his strange behavior somewhat endearing. A girl stands at the edge of a lake, expressing a deep desire to end her life out of loneliness. The guy rushes toward her, pleading with her to value her life and stay safe. She cries about how no one likes her and that she has no reason to keep going. In a desperate attempt to stop her, the guy confesses his feelings and says he liked her the moment he saw her. He claims it was love at first sight to keep her from jumping. Moved by his words, she leans in and initiates a kiss. They share an embrace as she asks him to officially be her boyfriend. The guy is confused why such a beautiful person would be so desperate and alone. She reveals the truth, explaining that people usually leave once they realize he is actually a male dressing as a girl. The guy stands in complete shock as the reality of the situation sinks in. The girls explain that a man must be both considerate and funny to win someone over. Noticing a loose shoelace, the guy immediately kneels down to help the girl fix it. After he finishes the task, the girl thanks him for being so sweet and thoughtful. As she tries to walk away, she trips and falls because he tied her laces together as a prank. He proudly asks if his sense of humor makes him her ideal type. Infuriated by the stunt, the girl loses her temper and knocks him away with a powerful blow. A young man stands on a ledge, contemplating ending it all because life feels too difficult. He suddenly changes his mind, realizing he hasn't accomplished his final wish yet and vows to finish it first. A reporter interviews an elderly man to learn his secret for a long life, but the senior just tells him to get lost. A young woman named May looks dejected after a breakup while Nathan sits beside her. Nathan tries to comfort her, and May leans on him, thanking him for his support. May encourages Nathan to speak his mind, thinking he's about to confess his feelings for her. She waits expectantly, certain that a romantic confession is coming her way. Instead, Nathan excitedly reveals he's been waiting for her to break up so he can confess to her ex-boyfriend. On a blind date, a woman criticizes her date's plain clothes and low income. She calls him a total loser and claims she would never date him unless she were blind. The man stands up abruptly, catching her off guard with his sudden movement. He pokes her in the eyes, asking if they can continue the date now that she's technically blind. A man explains Murphy's Law to his date, claiming that anything that can go wrong will. He continues his lecture, blaming bad luck for various failures in sports and life. His date is incredibly bored and just wants the dinner to end so she can go home. The man adjusts his glasses with a menacing glint, preparing to reveal his own supposed curse. He claims that anyone who breaks up with him suffers a terrible fate, which visibly terrifies the girl. He checks a list of past victims on his phone, detailing the bad luck that befell all his exes. Terrified of the supposed curse, the girl quickly agrees to continue the date and go to a movie. A cashier tells a customer that her total comes to $50.06. The girl tries to use her charm to get a discount, asking if she can just pay the flat 50. The cashier offers to waive the 6 cents if she tells him he's handsome. He waits with a grin for the compliment, but the girl remains silent and hesitant. Refusing to lie, she hands over a large bill and demands her change instead. The cashier is left in tears after his attempt at flirting is brutally rejected. A man answers a call from a mysterious number. A teacher named Ms. Lee asks if he's the uncle of one of her students. She questions if he was the one who actually completed the child's homework. He assumes his caring nature has successfully charmed her into a date. Instead, she suggests he join the children's remedial classes due to his many mistakes. Elsewhere, a young couple walks home after a night out. They enjoy small talk about the movie they just watched. The girl checks her watch and realizes she's missed her dormitory's curfew. She worries about where she will stay for the night. The man confidently tells her not to worry. He then proceeds to loudly harass the dorm guard to let her back in. At midnight, the man spots a woman and tries to start a conversation. He approaches her and asks for her age. She calmly states she is 59 years old. The man laughs until she clarifies she was 19 when she died. He immediately loses his cool and runs away in terror. Later, he gives a friend advice over text to confess her feelings. He anticipates a romantic surprise at his own front door. She arrives only to ask if his sister is home. A beautiful bride prepares for her wedding ceremony. The man watches from the shadows, plotting to ruin her big day. Guests shower the perfect couple with compliments. Suddenly, he rushes the stage with a mysterious bottle. He splashes the liquid on the bride, prompting the crowd to pin him down. He reveals the liquid was just makeup remover, exposing the bride's true age. A student focuses intensely on her exam while a classmate watches her from the desk behind. Realizing she hasn't studied enough for the high-stakes test, she starts to panic about her score. The boy behind her whispers to get her attention, calling her his goddess. She looks back and notices him pointing toward the paper on his desk. Thinking he's offering her the answers out of the kindness of his heart, she feels a surge of appreciation. Her gratitude turns to pure rage when she sees he just wrote a confession of love instead of the actual answers. Across town, a couple enjoys a scenic picnic by the water. The man adjusts his glasses, feeling smugly confident that his romantic planning is a total success. A vibrant blue butterfly flutters through the air and lands on a nearby tree trunk. The woman points it out and asks him to shoot it, hoping for a nice photo. Taking the request way too literally, the man delivers a powerful strike to the tree. He proudly holds up the crushed insect, explaining it was actually a poisonous species they needed to get rid of. Nearby, a woman shows off the impressive length of her eyelashes by balancing a pen on them. The surrounding crowd is amazed by the display and showers her with compliments. Watching from the sidelines, a man tries to brainstorm a clever way to break into the group's conversation. He decides to ask her for some eyelash glue to fix a crack in his shoe. The woman is instantly offended, as her lashes are natural and she doesn't use any glue at all. Looking for better luck, the man asks a stylish professional for advice on how to meet women. The expert suggests that the best place to find success is at a high-end club. He advises the man to simply buy a drink for anyone who catches his eye. Night falls over the city as the man prepares to put the plan into action. He approaches his target with a glass raised, feeling more confident than ever. He offers a smooth smile and asks to be friends. It turns out he took the advice to a convenience store instead of a nightclub. The exhausted cashier tells him she can't drink on the clock and demands he pay for the beverage. Later at the park, a young man struggles to find the words to express his feelings to his date. He blushes and looks away, admitting he doesn't know how to say what's on his mind. The girl smiles tenderly and calls him a little fool for being so nervous. They share a romantic embrace as the Be My Girl guy watches from the path. Inspired, he tries to use the exact same lines on his own date. Instead of a hug, his date looks at him with pure annoyance and calls him a fool in a much harsher tone. He breaks down in tears as she walks away, wondering why the same words resulted in such a different outcome. A man presents a blue gift bag to a curious blonde woman to brighten her day. She happily puts on the striped hat found inside, thinking it's a thoughtful present. The man's pride quickly turns to awkwardness when he explains he bought the hat so she wouldn't have to wash her hair. The woman is visibly offended by the suggestion, while the man remains completely oblivious to his mistake. Later, the man finds the woman outside in the rain and asks if she needs help getting home. She looks at him with hope, and he gives her a reassuring nod. Instead of walking with her, he simply hands over his only umbrella and lets her take it. The woman walks away under the umbrella with a friend, leaving the man behind. He stands alone in the downpour, realizing his plan for a romantic walk has completely backfired. In another scene, a man begs Vivi for a chance to date, but she tells him he needs to be much more successful first. He boldly claims he can acquire a fortune in just 3 minutes before heading toward the restroom. He quickly realizes his attempt at a joke was a massive failure and tries to apologize. Vivi is absolutely furious and demands to know exactly what he meant by his comment. Deep underwater, a merman watches a princess from afar and dreams of living on land. He visits a sea witch and begs for a way to transform into a human. The witch demands his voice in exchange for a potion, and he agrees to the trade without hesitation. In a quiet cafe, May meets with the man and asks him for a delicate favor. She blushes and looks down, appearing nervous about the information she is about to share. She explains that she has a crush on someone he knows and offers to show him a picture on her phone. Seeing his own reflection in the dark screen, The man mistakenly believes she is confessing her love to him. He reaches for the phone in excitement, thinking his feelings are finally being returned. The romantic moment is instantly crushed when Mei explains the screen is only black because her battery died. Roman explains that women will naturally decline invitations if they aren't interested, as seen when Vivi turns down a movie date. He claims that the outcome can be completely different if the person simply changes their strategy. By framing the date as a way to avoid wasting expiring tickets, the guy successfully gets Vivi to agree to go out. A different man tries a far more aggressive approach and receives a powerful slap for his behavior. A young couple walks through the city when the girl notices something that catches her eye. She points toward a claw machine filled with plushies, thinking they look incredibly cute. The guy boasts about his gaming skills, claiming he has never once missed a target at the arcade. He starts his mission with a massive container filled to the brim with game tokens. After countless failed attempts, the entire bin of tokens is empty without a single prize to show for it. The girl stands by looking absolutely exhausted as the guy refuses to accept defeat. He reaches out with his hand, desperate to continue his losing streak at the machine, finally reaching her limit. The girl snaps at him and demands that he leave her alone. Mei finds herself in the middle of a conflict between two men and tells them both to stop. She presents a photo of an attractive man and promises to date the one who can achieve that look first. Driven by the challenge, both men begin a rigorous routine of exercise and fashion research. Their hard work pays off as they both transform into stylish, handsome versions of their former selves. When they return to Mei, she is overwhelmed with choice, seeing that both have succeeded in their goal. Instead of competing for her, the two men realize they prefer each other's company and walk away together. Nathan puts the finishing touches on a snowman designed to look like Mei, complete with a confession written on it. He finishes the project and decides to hide nearby after calling Mei to come see the surprise. Nathan envisions a romantic scene where Mei is touched by the gesture and his bouquet of roses. He gets lost in a fantasy of them, finally confessing their feelings to one another. A stranger walks by and notices the elaborate snowman left alone in the snow. The passerby decides to be a prankster and begins rearranging the snowman's parts to ruin the scene. When Mei arrives and sees the no-vandalized snowman, she assumes Nathan is a creep and knocks him out with a punch. A girl in a pink dress waits on a bench, hoping the nearby guy will take the hint and strike up a conversation. She stands up to leave, intentionally dropping her pink wallet on the bench as a lure. The guy notices the item immediately and reacts with a look of surprise. He calls out to her, waving his hand to let her know she forgot her property. She thanks him with a smile, expecting him to follow up by asking her out for a drink. The guy pauses to think, rubbing his chin as he considers his next move. Instead of a date, he suggests that since people should share good things, she should share the contents of the wallet with him. Nathan walks through the park with Daisy while wearing a shirt that displays a bold request. He compliments her athletic build and asks if she was previously a member of the track team. He explains his reasoning by citing her physical form and how it must minimize wind resistance. Daisy looks down at her school uniform, appearing completely baffled by his strange logic. A dejected man stands in a room, feeling down after being rejected by his crush. His roommate turns away from a computer screen to see what is wrong. The roommate offers some encouragement, reminding him that there are many other people in the world. Overcome with emotion, the man grabs his friend's arm while shedding tears. He moves his hand to the roommate's leg, noting the specific smoothness of the skin texture. The roommate looks on in shock as the man continues his clinical observation of his limb. The man makes a strange suggestion for them to spend time together, leaving his friend looking absolutely horrified. Richard sits on a bench at night with a red-haired girl, who admits she has been observing him for a long time. Richard is visibly stunned by the sudden admission of her long-term interest. She looks down shyly, confirming that she has indeed been keeping a close eye on his activities. She reaches out to grab his hands, bringing a high level of intensity to the conversation. Panicking, Richard begs her to keep his embarrassing secrets quiet, including his habit of watching questionable media in public. The girl is so put off by his panicky confession that she pushes him away and prepares to leave. Nathan tries his luck with a blonde girl, claiming they have the scientifically perfect height difference. He asks her if she enjoys the special feeling of their ideal physical alignment. The girl reveals the truth behind the trick by demanding he return the high-heeled shoes he is currently wearing. An ice cream sign advertises a buy one get one half off deal. A girl asks a man if he's buying an ice cream cone for himself. She suggests they combine their orders to save money on the promotion. The man refuses her offer, claiming he can finish both cones alone. A man notices his companion looks different and compliments her appearance. He tells her she looks more beautiful than before. The woman blushes as he praises her prettier face. She explains her new look is just the result of a wisdom tooth extraction. Her friend reacts with wide-eyed shock at the dental news. He jokes that losing the tooth made her lose her intelligence, infuriating her. A couple shares a dramatic moment, lamenting the distance between them. They embrace while complaining about the tragedy of their situation. The bystander dismisses their over-the-top romance as total nonsense. He sits on a bench, but the thick haze hides the girl right next to him. He studies nail polish to find a way to talk to Mei. The training works, and he completes a high-level manicure on himself. He worries about being judged, but loves the results too much to watch wash them off. He decides to embrace his new look and celebrates his own beauty. A girl confesses her feelings to Richard and asks him to be her boyfriend. Richard tries to be sweet by giving her a head pat. The rough gesture ruins her hairstyle, leaving her fuming. She retracts her confession and leaves him crying over his failed attempt at romance. Betta watches Vivi order sweet and sour fish in the canteen, noting her preference for the dish. Seeing her enjoy the meal every day, he plots to win her over by ordering it for her in advance. The next day, he arrives early at the canteen to secure the meal before she shows up. He spots Vivi entering and prepares to surprise her with the food. Vivi appears, looking radiant and pleased to see him as she approaches. The canteen worker notices his daily routine and claims she knows exactly what he is up to. However, the plan backfires when the worker mistakenly thinks he is interested in her and promises to cook for him every day. Later, Vivi mentions she wants to eat something sweet, and her companion gives her a blunt suggestion to find sweetness from her own person. Misinterpreting the comment as a romantic compliment, Vivi blushes with high expectations. Her hopes are dashed when he simply tells her to go use the white sugar in the kitchen. Realizing the lack of romance, she decides she shouldn't have expected anything better. A man pulls up in a luxury rental car, eager to show off his supposed wealth. He confronts his ex-girlfriend, accusing her of leaving him only because he used to be poor. He breaks into tears of joy, thinking her gesture is one of regret, completely unaware she is actually just tying her shoelaces. A girl eats a massive fast food feast while complaining about her monthly budget running low. Her friend suggests that a complete makeover would lead to others treating her to free meals. Driven by the promise of food, she starts an intense workout routine and pushes herself through 50 laps. Weeks later, her new look turns heads as she walks down the street with a trail of admirers. She stands ready for the payoff, eagerly anticipating the moment someone finally offers to buy her dinner. The girl is completely open to any type of cuisine, as long as it means she doesn't have to pay. Nathan gifts May a small bear keepsake, which she thinks is absolutely adorable. While handling a dress, May accidentally gets her tangled in the fabric and calls for help. Nathan rushes into the room to assist, but his shirt reveals his secret feelings far earlier than he planned. Holding a massive bouquet of roses, Nathan prepares his heart for a formal proposal. May runs up to him, visibly shaken by a nightmare she had the night before. Nathan offers his full support, telling her that she doesn't need to worry while he's around. May blushes and smiles, seemingly touched by his protective nature. Curious about what could be so frightening, Nathan asks her to describe the dream. To his utter shock, May explains that the nightmare was actually Nathan proposing to her. Students discuss how Nathan transformed his lifestyle just to have a chance with the school beauty. Determined to win her over, Nathan spent countless hours in the gym lifting weights and doing cardio. Even with a new muscular build, Nathan faces an immediate rejection when he asks her to be his girlfriend. Confused by the refusal, Nathan highlights his physical progress and asks what went wrong. May points out that while his body changed, his face remained exactly the same as before. Nathan stands speechless as he realizes his efforts didn't change the outcome at all. Fearing another solo holiday, Nathan searches online and decides to rent a girlfriend for the festival. He meets a charming purple-haired girl who agrees to play the part of his partner for a few days. The rented girlfriend makes a great impression by bringing a gift and sharing a meal with Nathan's mother. Nathan asks his partner where they'll get the money to support their future. He confidently claims they will have at least $1 million in the bank soon. The girl is skeptical, asking exactly how he plans to acquire that much wealth. Nathan points to himself and proudly says it will be all thanks to his father. She blushes, assuming he's about to reveal he was born into a wealthy family. The reality is much different as he shows off a wanted poster for his dad with a massive bounty. Nathan deals with his heartbreak by shouting about how much he misses his crush among a sea of empty bottles. Nathan hires a muscular wingman to stage a fake rescue mission to impress a girl. The target arrives right on schedule, and Nathan prepares to play the hero. The accomplice steps in to start the act, but the girl doesn't seem intimidated at all. The wingman gives a confident thumbs up as the plan takes an unexpected turn. Instead of needing a rescue, the girl is actually into the big guy and asks where they should go. Nathan watches in pure shock as his paid actor steals the girl right in front of him. After seeing a weather report about a typhoon, Nathan decides he must protect May at all costs. He rushes through the halls, out of breath and desperate to reach her before the storm hits. Without warning, he starts tying a thick rope around May's wrist. He laughs it off, claiming he's just making sure she doesn't get blown away by the wind. A sudden gust of wind hits, and Nathan realizes his plan might have some serious flaws. The rope yanks Nathan toward the exit as the wind catches them both. Bystanders can't help but laugh at the ridiculous sight of them being tethered together. Nathan screams at the storm, refusing to let the weather humiliate him any further. Vivi admires a man with heavy tattoos, calling the look incredibly handsome. She notes that body art makes a man look significantly manlier and more attractive. Her friend takes the hint and asks for advice on how to get started with his own ink. He heads to a parlor with a vision of becoming the manliest version of himself. He debuts his new sleeves to Vivi, but they're just adorable cartoon characters instead of tough designs. During a nice dinner, a woman notices a flyer for a kissing contest sitting right on their table. The sign promises a massive cash prize of $500,000 for the couple that can hold their kiss the longest. The man secretly reveals he fabricated the entire contest just to trick his date into showing him some affection. Unfortunately for him, him, the woman remains unimpressed and remarks that next time she should bring a real guy instead. He is left completely devastated by the realization that she doesn't even view him as a potential partner. A red-haired woman browses through social media, feeling envious of Vivi's world-traveling vacation photos. Her boyfriend confidently claims that he can use his editing skills to make her look like a global traveler too. He produces a series of hilariously bad faux edits placing her in front of various world landmarks, like the Eiffel Tower and the Sphinx. Seeing the disastrous results, the woman immediately decides it's time for them to start seeing other people. Vivi and a companion express their deepest wishes, with her wanting wealth and him wanting a girlfriend. They sit in silence for a moment, pondering how they can help each other achieve their goals. He proposes a trade where she acts as his girlfriend in exchange for a lesson on what it truly feels like to be rich. The two walk together as Vivi tests out the new arrangement by asking for a brand new purse. The man is overcome with joy as he finally feels the sting of envy from the people passing them by. Viva expects to see a luxury mansion, but is instead greeted by a filthy, pest-infested apartment. Looking at the squalor, she suddenly feels incredibly wealthy and blessed, because her own life isn't this bad. The man is satisfied with his work, having successfully changed her perspective on her own financial status. Later, the man approaches Vivi again with a bizarre claim about his true identity. He insists that he is actually a cursed prince and needs a kiss from a beautiful woman to return to his true form. Vivi decides to give it a shot, leading to a massive cloud of smoke as a transformation begins. The smoke clears to reveal that he wasn't lying about the curse, as he has now turned into a giant green frog. May and Nathan head outside to enjoy a bright, snowy day together. They engage in a spirited snowball fight, laughing as they chase each other through the winter weather. During the excitement, May trips and falls backward into a large, soft snowbank. She stands up, leaving behind a perfect silhouette of her form pressed deep into the snow. Nathan looks at the detailed silhouette left in the drift, observing the deep impressions made by her fall. A man displays his physique in a locker room, drawing the immediate attention of nearby swimmers. The onlookers express intense envy over the man's physical condition and perceived social success. One man laments his own lack of markings, while his friend suggests using a neighbor's pet to fix the problem. The friend presents a white cat, intending to use its claws to mimic the desired marks. The duo walks through the pool area with scratched backs, completely misinterpreting the confused looks from other patrons. Nathan discovers a bestseller on social skills and decides to reinvent himself as a smooth talker. He approaches May and asks to paint her portrait, attempting to put his new knowledge into practice. Nathan complains that her clothing obscures the lines he needs to draw on his sketchpad. May looks uncomfortable as she explains her current wardrobe limitations. Nathan suggests she swap her current outfit for a hat and socks to keep the item count the same. May delivers a sharp slap to Nathan's face in response to his ridiculous suggestion. Nathan finally realizes the book he bought was shelved in the jokes section. May's brother approaches Nathan with a mischievous grin and a business proposal. He offers to sell a private, keepsake photo of his sister for $500. Nathan initially feigns outrage but quickly produces the cash to make the purchase. The two finalize the transaction, swapping a stack of bills for the promised image. A man discusses the classic hypothetical question regarding who to save in a crisis. He notes that his girlfriend is different and never bothers with such trivial questions. He proudly declares that his partner is capable of rescuing everyone without hesitation. Nathan points out a group of people he claims are staring at him while walking with May. May looks skeptical and questions how often he visits this specific part of town. Nathan frantically denies any familiarity with the area while trying to look innocent. May suggests they leave the vicinity immediately to find a quieter path. Nathan continues to brag about his supposed popularity as they stroll down the street. May remains visibly annoyed by his constant boasting and lack of self-awareness. The truth comes out when a local patron greets Nathan warmly, leaving May in stunned silence. Snow falls over a quiet house as a young man lets out a loud sneeze while a concerned girl watches from behind. She asks if he is doing all right given the freezing weather. The girl reaches out to feel his forehead, leading him to believe she is showing deep romantic affection for him. However, she quickly clarifies that she was simply using his feverish forehead to warm up her cold hands. The guy stands in the snow, completely dejected by the realization that he was just a human space heater. Elsewhere, a young man wearing a Be My Girl shirt notices the rain starting and decides it is the perfect time for a move. He rushes toward a building, hoping to intercept his crush as she walks home from work. He smiles, imagining a cinematic romantic encounter under the shelter of the eaves. As he waits, a drenched woman stands right next to him, but he looks right past her, wondering where his crush could be. He continues to scan the street, assuming the rain must have scared her off. The woman beside him realizes that without her makeup on, she is completely unrecognizable even to someone looking for her. Back in the city, Nathan presents May with a large bouquet of roses and claims that his love for her extends to her family, friends, and even her pets. May is momentarily touched by the sweet sentiment while bystanders watch the scene unfold. As the crowd cheers for them to kiss, a photo of another girl suddenly falls out of Nathan's pocket. May's face turns sour when she realizes he is carrying a picture of his girlfriend, leaving Nathan to awkwardly try and laugh it off. In another part of town, a man gives a girl in a pink dress advice to stay warm and drink plenty of hot water. She smiles, thinking his repetitive advice is a sign that he truly cares for her well-being. Later, she mentions that she has run out of money and can't even afford to buy a basic meal. She specifically notes that her situation is so bad, she can't even afford a glass of hot water. The man looks enthusiastic and tells her she should have said something sooner. He returns moments later and hands her a single glass of plain hot water. The girl stares at the drink in disbelief while he proudly tells her to just ask whenever she needs another refill. A man recalls a dream about a woman who was destined to be his life partner. In the dream, she completely ignores other handsome men as they walk by. Even physically fit guys at the park can't get her to look their way. Wealthy businessmen are also dismissed without a second thought. He believes she only has eyes for him and values him for who he truly is. However, the reality is she only approached him to ask if he needs an XL-sized shirt. A princess waits in her high tower, longing for a prince to come and rescue her. Below, a man in traditional attire calls up for her to let down her hair. The princess is overjoyed, believing her savior has finally arrived. She tosses her long, golden locks out the window for him to grab. The man catches the hair, but he isn't looking to climb up the tower. The princess shouts down, asking if he's too tired to make the ascent. Instead of saving her, the man produces a pair of scissors and begins cutting the long locks. He runs away with the hair, shouting that it will fetch a great price at the wig shop. At the station, an officer questions a man about what started a recent brawl. The officer guesses that seeing public displays of affection might have triggered him. The man gets defensive, shouting that PDA wouldn't bother him that much. The officer then wonders if seeing a couple get married was the breaking point. Still agitated, the man claims he doesn't care at all about people getting married. The officer rubs his temples, desperate to understand what actually set the man off. The man bursts into tears, revealing he's upset because a couple got divorced before he even found a girlfriend. A professor teaches his students that the simplest solution is often the most effective. One student considers if his romantic failures are just a result of overthinking things. He decides to keep his next date simple by using dry ice to create a mystical fog. A girl is amazed by the atmosphere, comparing the setting to a fairy realm. When she complains about the cold, he pulls her close to provide warmth. He smiles, confident that his simple plan is a total success. Unfortunately, both end up in the hospital being treated for carbon dioxide poisoning. A guy asks his friend for advice on what kind of gift to give May. He wants to find the perfect gesture to express his feelings. His friend explains that the number of flowers he gives will carry a specific message. On Valentine's Day, he starts by giving her a single rose to show she's the only one for him. He follows up with a large bouquet, telling her their bond is a perfect 10. He then claims to have a final gift to represent the many years he will love her. Instead of a romantic response, May levels him with a powerful punch to the face. It turns out his romantic final gift was a giant white rose wreath, typically used for funerals. Princess May looks out from her castle balcony, wondering if her prince will show up today. Nathan makes a grand entrance by climbing through her window to announce his arrival. The two share a moment of concern as May worries about her father catching them together. Nathan reassures her by pointing out that his squire has placed a safety bed directly under the window for a quick escape. Their secret meeting is interrupted by a sudden, loud knocking at the bedroom door. Panicked, the princess tells him to leave, and Nathan dives out the window into the supposed safety below. A hand reaches for the golden doorknob as the visitor prepares to enter the room. The squire enters to deliver the news that the safety bed was removed for repairs, realization hitting too late. In a different timeline, Nathan bursts into a lab demanding to travel through time. Beta continues his chemical work, noting that Nathan has finally come around to the idea. Nathan complains about the competition for May's affection, so Beta asks how far back he wants to travel. Determined to be the first, Nathan declares he wants to go back to a time when no one loved May. Beta checks his records and warns that a time when no one liked her might mean she was quite a handful. Nathan doesn't care about the risks and begs to be sent back so he can prove his devotion. The two find themselves transported into the past, appearing in a cloud of smoke as younger versions of themselves. A young, energetic May chases after them, immediately proving that her personality was intense even as a child. Richard gets an urgent call at his workplace, telling him to rush to the hospital immediately. Vivi reports over the phone that Beta suddenly passed out while they were walking together. At the hospital, Vivi explains that the incident happened while they were browsing a specialty store. Richard takes over the watch, telling Vivi she can head home while he handles the situation. He enters the room to find Beta sitting up in bed, looking perfectly fine and reading a book. Beta casually explains that he decided to faint early just to get the ordeal out of the way. Vivi calls Richard later to remind him that Valentine's Day is just around the corner. Richard smiles as he promises to head over soon to meet up with her. Vivi demands he arrive before the holiday or else, and Richard confirms he'll be there tomorrow. Vivi's brother checks in to see if their plan to get gifts for their girlfriends is still on track. The siblings conspire to have Richard bring everything they need for the upcoming celebration. Nathan and May discuss their holiday plans when Beta interrupts, begging to join them. Beta plays with a rubber band while insisting he only needs a quick heads up to be ready for the trip. The pair tries to dodge the request by suggesting Beta should spend the holiday with his own family instead. Beta remains persistent, declaring that he doesn't care about the destination as long as he's with his friends. Frustrated by the intrusion, Nathan slams the table and asks Beta why he can't take a hint. Nathan yells that Beta would simply be a third wheel on their private outing. The realization seems to hit Beta hard as he looks down in momentary silence. Beta suddenly brightens up, deciding he'll just lead the way so Nathan and May have to be his third wheels instead. During graduation season, the group gathers together to take a final commemorative photo. A friend encourages Nathan to seize this final opportunity to confess his true feelings to May before they leave. The cameraman gets annoyed, telling Nathan his grim expression is ruining the celebratory vibe of the shot. Nathan builds up his courage, determined to finally say what's been on his mind for years. May and her friend wait expectantly, assuming a deep romantic confession is finally coming their way. Nathan completely ruins the mood by laughing and pointing out a bug crawling on May's graduation cap. On a crowded bus, a young student's transit card accidentally triggers a senior citizen audio alert at the scanner. Nathan leaps into action, yelling at the staring passengers that his grandma looks fantastic for her age. He offers the bewildered young woman his seat, fully leaning into his ridiculous mistake. The bus driver interrupts the chaos, demanding that Nathan swipe his own card before the bus moves any further. Nathan swipes his card, which immediately plays a loud student card notification for everyone to hear. The girl is left mortified by the awkward situation Nathan created on public transit. Nathan plots to win May's heart by proving he's an expert at looking after children while babysitting her niece. May explains that her niece is a picky eater and suggests playing a game to encourage her to finish her meal. The little girl stubbornly refuses to eat, turning her head away from the offered spoon. May proposes a game of rock, paper, scissors, where the winner gets to take a bite of the food. The girl prepares to eat after losing, but May explains the winner is the one who actually gets to eat the food. May hands the feeding duties over to Nathan, who prepares to continue the competitive mealtime. Nathan wins every single round and eats the entire meal himself, leaving the child crying and hungry. Nathan shows up to meet a friend while sporting a massive black eye and a swollen face. He explains that his attempt to be helpful and do someone a favor resulted in him getting a face full of trouble. May asks Nathan if he has any idea what traits women find most appealing in a partner. She claims that women love men who confidently tell them to swipe away with their credit cards. Nathan takes the financial advice to heart, promising to take care of all her shopping needs immediately. May daydreams about him bringing back a platinum credit card, unaware of Nathan's typical luck. Nathan offers Vivi another bite during their meal together. Vivi feels completely stuffed after the meal, comparing her appetite to that of a farm animal. Nathan uses his scientific knowledge to reassure her that her biology won't allow for such a drastic physical transformation. Thinking she's safe from any consequences, Vivi decides to go for just one more bite. However, Nathan quickly ruins the moment by citing evolution theories to suggest she'll resemble a different primate instead. At a specialty clinic, a client expresses dissatisfaction with the results to avoid paying the service fee. After another round of treatments, the man is thrilled with his new movie star looks. Greedy for a freebie, he insists on one final procedure despite being happy with the current outcome. Weeks later, the bandages finally come off for the ultimate reveal. The final result is a bizarrely exaggerated facial structure that looks nothing like a human. While the man panics over his new appearance, the consultant suggests he has the perfect face for a career in live streaming. A frustrated man explains that he needs a partner just to get his mother to stop pestering him. His colleague mentions that his own mother made similar promises before he tied the knot. Excited by the prospect of peace and quiet, the man listens intently for the secret to a stress-free life. It turns out the nagging only stopped because his mother is now too busy arguing with his wife. A man observes a famous cinematic scene involving a masked hero and a rainy backdrop. He decides that he needs a similar competitive edge to improve his own social standing. He heads to the lab to ask Nathan for a specialized performance-enhancing serum. Nathan confidently prepares a solution tailored to the man's request. The doctor presents a syringe filled with a serum derived from lion genetics, promising king of the jungle attributes. Eager to gain these legendary abilities, the man demands the injection immediately. Nathan carefully administers the serum into the man's arm to complete the procedure. Richard rushes through the rain to meet Vivi at her office, determined to be there even during a light drizzle. He walks her home under an umbrella, but his friend thinks he's going way too far with the special treatment. Nathan questions why Richard insists on picking her up every time it rains. He is shocked when Richard reveals the real reason behind his dedication. Richard explains that if he doesn't pick her up, she'll hide from the rain in a mall and spend all his money on shopping. At work, a group of colleagues shares spooky ghost stories that leave one woman feeling uneasy. A man steps in, offering to stay at her house that night so she won't have to face the dark alone. Once they arrive, he jokingly asks any nearby ghosts to turn off the lights to prove their presence. The woman watches in confusion as he attempts to communicate with the supernatural. When the lights stay on, he gives a thumbs up, claiming there's nothing to fear since the ghost didn't respond. He reasons that if the lights had gone off, it would just mean the ghost was polite and thoughtful. With her fears supposedly calmed, he prepares to head home, much to her surprise. She looks on in disbelief as he misses the point of his own visit. He asks to borrow a flashlight for his walk back, completely unaware of her frustration. Walking through the dark alleyways, the man starts to feel the weight of the spooky atmosphere. He nervously asks a ghost to turn on his flashlight for him since he's struggling in the dark. Suddenly, the light flickers on, sending him into a panic scream as he drops the device. Back at her place, the woman smirks while using a remote control app on her phone to pull the prank. During a difficult exam, Nathan feels confident that he knows every single answer on the page. He glances over and notices Mai looking completely overwhelmed by the questions. Determined to help her out, he decides to take a risky gamble. He writes Mai's name on his own finished test paper instead of his own. The teacher calls for everyone to hand in their papers as the time runs out. Nathan breathes a sigh of relief, thinking he's done a great deed. Later, the teacher calls out Mai for scoring a failing grade of 54. Mai is furious when she realizes Nathan's handwriting is on her failing test, ruining her grade. Nathan finds himself in a hospital bed, watching as a nurse walks out of his room. He boasts about how all the nurses are constantly trying to win his affection or cast seductive glances his way. Richard arrives at the hospital to check on his friend's condition. The nurses pull Richard aside to explain that Nathan is actually in the psych ward because of his delusional behavior. Richard tries to lead him away, suggesting they find a different facility altogether. Nathan insists the current nurses are too pretty to leave, forcing Richard to quiet him down before they get in more trouble. A student sits next to her crush, Beta, trying to focus on their study session. She looks for a clever way to finally reveal her true feelings to him. She points to a specific character in her book and asks him for the translation. Beta looks closely at the text, trying to be helpful. She continues by pointing to the word for love, hoping he catches on. Finally, she points to the word for you while smiling brightly at him. Beta rubs his chin in deep thought, treating it like a serious academic puzzle. Instead of confessing, he pulls out a thick dictionary to look up the definitions, leaving her completely dejected. Nathan lies back on the couch, brainstorming ways to finally confess his feelings to Mai. Seeing a professional archer on television gives him a sudden, unconventional spark of inspiration. He sets up in the street with a bow and a special message attached to an arrow, waiting for Mai to appear. With his target in sight, he launches the projectile with high hopes for a romantic success. Back in class, the art teacher instructs the students to pair up and practice drawing portraits of one another. Nathan wastes no time and asks Mai to be his partner for the afternoon session. He sets up his canvas and prepares to capture her likeness, determined to win her over with his artistic skill. Mai poses with a gentle smile as Nathan focuses intently on every detail of her face. The intense focus causes Nathan to experience a sudden nosebleed while he admires her features. He realizes the situation has taken an awkward turn and tries to manage the mess. Unaware of the mishap, Mai excitedly asks to see the progress of his artwork. The portrait is revealed to be covered in red stains, ruining the romantic gesture entirely. A student asks his friend to hide on a rooftop and provide backup for his confession to Vivi. He meets up with Vivi outside, feeling the pressure to make a move. Nervous and blushing, he finally asks her if she would consider being his girlfriend. Vivi bluntly rejects him, stating she would only say yes if food started falling from the sky. His friend takes the hyperbole literally and prepares to drop a large dessert from above. The heavy object is tossed over the ledge to simulate the impossible condition Vivi set. Realizing the plan resulted in a literal impact, the friend immediately calls for emergency services. Nathan is surprised by a sudden knock at his door while wearing his cooking apron. He opens the door to find Mai arriving for their scheduled meeting. He presents an elaborate multi-course meal that he spent the afternoon preparing. Mai is shocked by his proficiency in the kitchen and offers him genuine praise. Nathan attributes his skill to a collection of secret family recipes passed down to him. He explains that his father taught him to cook so he could take care of himself independently. Mai acknowledges that such a practical talent is a very useful quality to have. Nathan tries to pivot the compliment into a request for a date, but Mai remains skeptical. While walking, Nathan encounters a former acquaintance and notes her dramatic physical transformation. The woman explains that her new appearance and strength come from years of martial arts training. Nathan assumes that her new skills have effectively ended her history of being bullied. She confirms that no one messes with her now, though it has made her dating life difficult. Nathan is confused when she implies that he is the one who should date her now. A neighbor visits Nathan at his door to offer a parting gift for his help. He nervously invites her inside to sit down. She removes her winter coat to reveal her present. The gift turns out to be her pet, which she can no longer keep. Nathan is left holding the small creature after she departs. A man and child sit on a sidewalk mat asking for spare change. Nathan's friend breaks down because he can't afford a luxury bag for Mai. Nathan encourages him to do whatever it takes to win her over. Taking the advice too literally, The friend starts begging for money on the street. Nathan strolls through the city whistling with high confidence. He stops a passerby to ask for specific directions. He attempts a smooth pickup line about finding the way to her heart. The woman initially blushes at the sudden attention. She rejects him by stating her heart is a toll road that requires payment. Nathan offers to treat Vivi to any lunch she desires. He asks a waiter for premium seafood options. He promptly leads Vivi back out of the establishment. He reasons that eating shellfish at a landlocked BBQ joint is a bad idea. While riding the bus, Nathan spots an attractive ticket collector. He is immediately captivated by her look and wants to introduce himself. He struggles internally over whether to ask for her contact information. His nerves take over as he worries about appearing like a creep. The collector reaches out, snapping him out of his internal monologue. She mistakes his nervous sweating for a bathroom emergency and offers assistance. Beta asks Mr. Game for advice on how to understand what a girl is thinking. Mr. Game suggests that the secret to understanding a girl is to first get to know her friends. Beta believes he has just received a brilliant piece of advice and prepares to take action. Beta meets with Daisy's friends at the park to get the scoop on her. Instead of asking about Daisy, Beta suggests he and her friends should just get to know each other better. A lesson in loyalty is about to be delivered with the help of a heavy tool. Beta is quickly chased off by the group after his poor attempt at flirting. A brave knight charges toward a castle on a cliffside to rescue a princess. A demon king suddenly appears and makes a surprising romantic demand of the knight. The knight is completely blindsided and panicked by the demon's proposal. Determined to finish the mission, the knight charges straight at the demon king. The story ends with a twist as the knight and the demon king are the ones living happily ever after. Daisy sighs in the park, feeling a strange physical discomfort. Beta notices she looks a bit pale and asks her what's wrong. Daisy explains her chest feels tight and asks Beta for a joke to help her relax. Beta takes a moment to process the request for a joke about her physical state. He delivers a harsh remark, suggesting her features aren't significant enough to warrant a joke. Daisy is left in tears while Beta beats a hasty retreat. Richard is out on a date with a girl he's been seeing for a couple of months. He asks her how he's performed as a date during their time together. The girl mentions that today is actually his final evaluation. Richard is pumped up and ready to face whatever the final test entails. The girl excuses herself to the restroom before the big reveal. A mature woman returns to the table, revealing the date's true appearance. Richard is absolutely stunned to realize he was being tricked by a disguise the entire time. Nathan sits in his dorm, looking defeated while wearing a shirt that screams for attention. He tells his roommate that May completely shut him down when he asked for her number. His friend suggests that asking for her social media handles might be a less intimidating approach. Nathan gets a second wind and decides to try this new strategy the very next day. Nathan approaches May and asks for her social media handle instead of her phone number. May hands him a slip of paper containing a numeric code for her account. Nathan discovers that the security question to see her profile requires the very phone number she refused to give him. Nathan sees his friend's bruised face and asks what went wrong with his latest interaction. He offers to break down the situation to see where his buddy messed up. The guy recalls the moment he blunt force insulted a girl's natural appearance right to her face. Unsurprisingly, he receives a massive slap across the cheek for the rude comment. Nathan points out the obvious mistake, explaining that calling a girl ugly is a guaranteed way to get rejected. A couple watches the snowfall from inside, hoping for a romantic winter activity. The guy points out there isn't enough snow on the ground for an actual fight, immediately ruining the vibe. He suggests wrapping the thin snow around rocks instead, completely missing the point of a playful date. At a hotel, Nathan asks the receptionist for an extra pillow, because the ones provided are too low. The clerk explains that they have a strict policy against giving out extra bedding to guests. Nathan tries to gain sympathy by lying about having a bad back that requires extra support to sleep. When checking out later, he decides to try his luck and strike up a conversation with the staff member. He suddenly realizes the woman behind the counter is his type and feels a spark of attraction. He asks for a phone number, but she immediately shuts him down with a polite refusal. She explains that she doesn't want to risk throwing his back out, throwing his own previous lie back in his face. At the supermarket, a customer places several keepsakes and groceries onto the conveyor belt to pay. Nathan spots his ex-girlfriend working the register and accuses her of lying about finding a wealthy partner. He questions her about her previous claims of just having to cash checks for a living. She stares him down, clearly unimpressed by his sudden interrogation. While she is trying to work, he realizes too late that her cashing checks meant her literal daily tasks as a retail cashier. Nathan spots a beautiful employee at a different store and immediately plots a way to get her contact info. He grabs everything in sight to ensure he has a reason to spend a long time at her checkout counter. He pretends to have forgotten his wallet and asks if he can pay using a digital transfer app instead. The clerk agrees with a smile, making Nathan think his smooth plan is working perfectly. Thinking he has scored, he asks for her personal account details so he can send the money. The clerk simply points to a generic store-wide QR code, ending his hopes of getting her private information. Richard finishes his meal and calls for the check. A friendly server approaches with a smile to settle the bill. Richard is stunned to realize the restaurant is actually run by his ex-girlfriend. She looks back at him with a neutral expression as the realization sinks in. He insists on paying to support her business, but she tells him not to worry about it. She admits the real reason she's treating him is so he'll feel too awkward to ever come back. Beta and Manny head out for a stroll, enjoying each other's company. Suddenly, Manny trips and clutches her injured ankle in pain. Beta steps up and offers her a piggyback ride, claiming it's his responsibility. Manny is deeply moved by his sweet and supportive gesture. The romantic mood is ruined when Beta complains about her being a weighty responsibility. Richard asks his girlfriend why she stopped surprising him lately. He uses a metaphor about a fisherman no longer needing bait once the fish is caught. She asks if he has ever actually taken care of fish before. He casually mentions he fed his old fish to the cat because they were too much work. Horrified by his attitude, she decides to end their relationship on the spot. Nathan shows off a dating bebel that claims the key to a girl's heart is a gift and a joke. Later, Nathan sports a massive bruise and a bump on his head from a recent encounter. His friend is shocked by the visible damage to Nathan's face. He immediately tosses the useless advice book onto the couch. Nathan rants about how the book's advice backfired completely. His friend asks for the details of what went wrong during the date. Nathan explains that he told his girlfriend he was going to buy her an expensive bag, which made her laugh. He then told her it was just a joke, leading to her violent reaction. An aunt and her niece decide to spend some time playing outside. The little girl asks for $10 so she can go buy some fireworks. The aunt happily hands over the cash and tells the girl to be careful. A few minutes later, the girl returns home crying uncontrollably. The aunt is confused and asks why she didn't get the fireworks she wanted. The girl explains that Nathan offered to go buy a pack of items for her. Nathan returns with a pack of personal charms for himself, having used the girl's firework money. The aunt is absolutely livid at Nathan for tricking a child. Richard checks in with his friend, who is nervously staring at his phone while trying to decide whether to send a message. The friend explains his hesitation, but Richard tells him to just go for it and stop overthinking. The guy spots a pink-haired woman nearby and decides to make his move. He walks up and boldly asks for a phone number right then and there. When she seems unsure, he quickly pivots and asks for a social media handle instead, promising to be respectful. The woman eventually gives in, but the guy is stunned when she reveals her handle is actually just her phone number. Back with Richard, the two reflect on the awkward encounter, while Richard sports his signature graphic tee. Later that day, Richard notices Nathan walking past with incredibly swollen and bruised cheeks. Richard stops him to ask what on earth happened to his face. Nathan tries to claim he's just practicing a specialized facial massage for health benefits, but Richard laughs, knowing he's just making up a cover story for getting slapped. That night, a lonely Nathan wanders the city streets by himself. A suspicious man in a trench coat approaches him, offering to sell some questionable Japanese media. Nathan initially brushes him off, frustrated that such things won't help him find a real partner. The salesman insists that this specific disc will make a girl appear right in front of him for only $5. Hooked by the promise, Nathan shells out the cash and heads home. He wasted no time popping the mysterious disc into his computer drive. The video starts with a creepy, black and white shot of an old well in the middle of a dark forest. A pale hand suddenly grips the edge of the well, and Nathan starts to realize this footage looks way too familiar. A ghostly figure in a white dress emerges, and Nathan realizes he's accidentally bought a horror movie. The ghost actually crawls out of the monitor and into his room, leaving Nathan screaming in terror. In another attempt at romance, Nathan approaches May with a massive bouquet of red roses. He tells her this is 199th confession and begs her to finally give him a chance. May doesn't hesitate for a second, telling him that a relationship is never going to happen. Nathan pleads for her to give him at least one positive thing to walk away with. His eyes light up for a brief moment when it looks like she might actually say something nice. Instead, she brutally tells him she's positive it will never happen, leaving him completely drained. In a storybook dream, May is a princess who has fallen into a deep slumber after eating a cursed apple. A group of noble princes stands around her, frustrated that none of them have been able to wake her up. Nathan suddenly appears out of nowhere, shouting for everyone to move out of his way. The crowd watches in disbelief as the newcomer approaches the sleeping princess. Dressed in a white suit, Nathan is certain he is the hero of this fairy tale. He leans down toward the princess, intending to wake her with a close encounter. However, May is jolted awake by his terrible breath and immediately punches him across the room. The other princes are shocked, realizing that while his hygiene was a disaster, it was effective enough to raise the dead. Richard speeds down the road on a red motorcycle with a girl clinging to his back in terror. She begs him to slow down, but he is too focused on his plan to listen. He smirks to himself, confident that his pickup Bible trick is working exactly as intended. According to his guide, offering a girl a motorcycle ride is the best way to force physical proximity. As they ride into the sunset, the girl's heart races, though it's clearly from fear rather than romance. The date ends in disaster as both walk away with ruined hair and the realization that they aren't compatible. Later, Nathan spots Manny looking incredibly depressed outside and wonders what happened to her. She reveals she just returned from the hospital and feels completely miserable. Nathan mentions he also visited the doctor recently and asks what her diagnosis was. She laments that she's been put on a strict diet and can no longer eat or drink whatever she wants. Nathan tries to relate by saying his own doctor told him he could eat anything he desired. Instead of being comforted, Manny breaks into tears, realizing Nathan's medical situation must be terminal. Back at home, Richard casually munches on a bag of snacks without a care in the world. May realizes someone has broken into her stash and starts to fume with rage. She screams at Richard for being gross and eating her food without permission. Richard remains unfazed, teasing her about being single and overreacting to a few chips. He jokingly suggests they should just start dating so he can eat her food legally, leaving her speechless. May decides to try out a bold new gothic look, complete with heavy makeup and accessories. Richard gives her a compliment, but he keeps his eyes tightly shut the entire time. Suspecting something is up, she demands to know why he won't actually look at her. He tries to blame a strong wind for his closed eyes, but his excuse is clearly failing. May points out that they are indoors and demands the truth about his behavior. Richard finally admits he can't look her in the eye while he lies about her looking good. While hanging out with friends, the group begins discussing the benefits of the sharing economy. One friend mentions how easy it is to share things like bikes and umbrellas these days. May agrees, noting that she has shared phone chargers and cars with others before. Richard sits in silence, appearing to be in deep thought about the conversation. His friend eventually asks him what he thinks they should be sharing next. Richard shocks everyone by suggesting they share wives, causing his friend to spit his drink out in pure disbelief. A man tries to set a romantic mood by asking his date to borrow her hand. He delivers a cheesy pickup line, claiming he now holds the whole world in his palm. Watching the scene unfold on a screen, May finds the gesture incredibly sweet and romantic. Nathan decides to try the same tactic, asking May if he can borrow her hand as well. May blushes deeply, wondering if Nathan has finally decided to show her some genuine affection. Instead of being romantic, Nathan performs a blunt palm reading and tells her that her destiny looks pretty average. On a crowded bus, a man notices a mother struggling while holding her young child. He reaches out and nudges a seated passenger to get their attention. The man starts shouting, demanding to know why the passenger hasn't offered their seat to someone with a baby. The mother smiles and thanks him for looking out for her as the other passenger stands up. Instead of letting the mother sit, the man steals the seat for himself and offers to hold her kid instead. Later, May checks in with Nathan to see how he's progressing on a presentation project. Nathan gives a confident thumbs up, claiming that he is already 33% finished with the work. May realizes the trick immediately, noting that he's likely only typed the first letter of the 3-letter file extension. Nathan casually asks if life ever feels boring while his friend looks on in disbelief. May stands by in silence, visibly frustrated by his lack of effort and ridiculous excuses. During lunch, a man notices Vivi staring in his direction with an intense expression. He asks if there's something different about her today, since she's acting unusual. Vivi confirms that he's not wrong and that something is definitely going on. She bluntly tells him that she suddenly has a strong urge for him to leave the table. Confused and hurt, the man asks why she's being so cold to him all of a sudden. Vivi points past him, revealing she was actually admiring a more attractive guy eating nearby the whole time. The man breaks down in tears, realizing he was never the one she was looking at. Nathan and a friend head out to grab some drinks and vent about their lives. The friend gets emotional while reminiscing about his very first love back in school. Nathan tries to be supportive, mentioning that most school romances naturally end after graduation. The friend starts sobbing, explaining that their relationship didn't even make it that far. He reveals the school caught her with another guy, causing Nathan to spit out his drink in pure shock. Nathan looks visibly annoyed while May stands behind him, wondering what has caused his sudden change in mood. May asks him why he is so upset, looking genuinely confused by his cold behavior. Nathan reveals his jealousy, demanding to know why she called their manager a romantic pet name. May explains with a deadpan expression that the manager's actual nickname is just very similar to that term. Nathan stands there in a cold sweat, realizing he made a huge scene over a simple misunderstanding. A couple sits down for a meal together, enjoying a quiet moment over their food. The woman focuses on her bowl, eating happily while her partner watches her. The man mentions a romantic trope about partners eating each other's leftovers and asks why she doesn't do that for him. He points to his completely empty bowl, noting that she didn't leave a single bite behind. She snaps back, claiming that the food she left in his bowl was specifically the portions she didn't want. Vivi inspects her face closely in a hand mirror, searching for any signs of aging. She begins to cry over finding new wrinkles while a man watches from the background, surprised by her outbursts. He confidently steps in, claiming he has a perfect method to make her skin look smooth again. Vivi looks up with sparkling eyes, desperate to hear his secret beauty tip. He tells her that all she needs to do is slap her own face 100 times every single morning. He explains that the resulting swelling will hide all the wrinkles, leaving Vivi completely unimpressed by his ridiculous logic. May's father focuses intensely on his game of mahjong in the park. Nathan plays against him, intentionally losing money every day just to get on the man's good side. Nathan finally gathers the courage to ask for the father's approval to date May. The father raises a finger, preparing to give the young man some serious life advice. Nathan is shocked when the father warns him that May will just take all his money, exactly like her mother did to him. The father laughs, realizing that if Nathan dates May, he won't have any money left to lose during their games. A man stands on a crowded bus while a woman stands very close to his back. He blushes and smiles to himself, convinced that this close proximity is a sign of a romantic spark. The woman quickly exits the bus as soon as it pulls into the next station. The man's joy turns to panic when he reaches for his pocket and realizes his wallet is gone. The woman walks away with a smirk, having successfully pickpocketed the distracted passenger. However, she is the one left disappointed when she opens the wallet and finds it is completely empty. May asks Nathan if her parents said anything to upset him during his visit. Nathan reveals that playing a board game with her father left him feeling increasingly unsettled. May points out her father's obsession with the game and asks if Nathan even practiced. Nathan claims he did, but he was completely caught off guard by the father's unconventional tactics. Confusion grows as May asks for a specific example of these strange strategies. Nathan shows that the father was simply arranging his game pieces to look like a house on the board. Attempting a date, Nathan invites May to a new restaurant, but she flatly rejects him. Nathan goes alone and listens as a server describes the special free platters reserved for couples and lovers. When he asks about options for singles, the server brings him a meal served in a dish shaped like a pet bowl. Nathan sits in silence, feeling judged by the restaurant's blunt approach to his solo status. Meanwhile, a new couple celebrates their relationship and decides to visit a fortune teller. They approach a master sitting at a small table to learn what their future holds. The girl excitedly asks the master to predict the fate of their new romance. The master shocks them by stating the boyfriend's time is up, and the girl needs to let him go. The boyfriend is immediately defensive and demands to know what the master is talking about. Influenced by the prediction, the girl pushes her boyfriend away without a second thought. She agrees to the breakup, while the boyfriend looks physically drained by the sudden turn of events. Switching gears, Nathan asks Richard if he still maintains a relationship with his ex-girlfriend. Richard confirms they still talk, which Nathan finds to be a very mature way to handle things. Nathan thinks it's great they can stay friends, but wonders why they ever broke up. Richard explains that their relationship ended over a matter of life and death. Nathan is confused by the intensity of the statement and asks for clarification. Richard clarifies that they had a massive fight over a trivial disagreement and couldn't resolve it. Later, Nathan and Vivi meet an elderly woman outside a marriage temple who offers a reading. The woman asks Nathan if he wants to know his romantic fate. Nathan happily agrees to the reading while Vivi watches with a skeptical expression. The woman predicts that there will be 3 different women who develop feelings for him. Nathan gets hopeful and asks if Vivi is one of them, much to her annoyance. The fortune teller then tells Vivi that her future lover will be a handsome billionaire. Vivi immediately hands over cash for the good news, leaving Nathan weeping over the obvious scam. Nathan stands beside a woman, looking completely defeated while wearing a shirt that says, "Be my girl." He closes his eyes and laments the deep sorrow he feels after his constant failures in love. Nathan breaks down in tears while recounting the exact number of times he's been rejected by his crush. His companion looks on with a confused expression, wondering why he's so caught up in the semantics of his failed attempts. He wails dramatically while explaining the specific mathematical difference between being rejected again and again. The woman stands in silence, visibly drained by his obsessive and annoying persistence. In another scene, a man bluntly tells a woman he wasn't planning on getting her anything for her birthday. The woman turns away in shock, stunned by his lack of consideration for the occasion. Unfazed, the man smiles and touches his hair, clearly proud of his own honesty. She responds by delivering a powerful flying kick to his side, ending the conversation instantly. Nathan focuses intensely on a mobile game, while May watches him with a judgmental look. May vents her frustration about selfish players who ruin the team dynamic by focusing only on themselves. She gives him a side eye and explicitly calls him out for being incredibly selfish in his behavior. Nathan stops playing for a moment, looking completely baffled by her sudden accusation. She explains that he completely ignores everyone else just to play his games the moment he's done with work. A light bulb goes off in his head as he thinks he finally understands what she's complaining about. Instead of spending time with her, he starts shouting for his friends to join a team so they don't have to play with strangers. May is left fuming in the background as Nathan continues to prioritize gaming over their actual social interaction. A woman sits at a table and sighs about how girls are judged regardless of what they do or wear. The man sitting across from her looks up from his book, clearly about to offer a questionable opinion. He attempts to be philosophical, claiming that everyone has their specific moments of peak appearance. She leans in with sparkling eyes, genuinely curious to hear what he considers her best moment. He delivers a cold insult by stating that moment only happens when she loses weight, leaving her in a fit of rage. Nathan attempts a classic pickup line by asking May which 2 letters of the alphabet are her favorites. She stares back with a blank expression, suspicious of his intentions and his annoying shirt. He claims it's just a test, leading her to pick 2 random letters just to get the conversation over with. Nathan places a hand on his chest and delivers the punchline, claiming his favorites are U and I. She immediately counters his move by holding up a luxury keepsake and stating her favorite letters are actually the brand initials. Nathan is left speechless and sweating, his attempt at romance completely shut down by her expensive tastes. A couple enjoys a candlelit dinner, seemingly in the middle of a romantic moment. The man presents a small blue box containing a special keepsake he's been working on for months. Vivi is visibly moved, her face flushing as she anticipates a deep connection. He explains that the keepsake is designed to link two people together telepathically. Fully convinced by the pitch, Vivi agrees to participate in the experiment with him. The mood shifts instantly when the man asks Vivi for nearly $1,000 to reach his funding goal. Vivi's expression goes dark as she realizes she's just being used as a financial backer. Back in class, Vivi discusses an article claiming that men are most attractive when they are working and providing. She imagines a scenario where a guy looks like a literal angel just by confidently picking up the tab. Overhearing the conversation, Nathan decides this logic is perfectly reasonable and plans his next move. The scene shifts to a food counter where the group is browsing for a snack. Vivi hesitates over some fried chicken, mentioning her desire to watch her weight. Nathan tries to capitalize on the moment by flashing his credit card to pay for her meal. During a group event, a host announces a game where participants must hug to reach a specific monetary value. Nathan spots Vivi and her friend nearby as the boys and girls are assigned different values. As the target number is announced at $1.50, the group of 5 prepares to split up. The 3 boys quickly group together to hit the target, celebrating their narrow victory. Vivi and her friend are left standing alone, completely ignored by the guys in favor of winning the game. Later, Richard and Vivi go out for a meal as a thank you for a previous favor. Vivi discovers her wallet is missing and her phone is dead, meaning she has no way to pay. She flashes a bright smile, assuming Richard will step up and cover the bill for her. Instead, Richard hands her a power bank so she can charge her phone and pay for her own meal. Richard notices Nathan looking unusually cheerful and asks him what's going on. Nathan brags about spending 2 months of his salary on a new phone just to get a date with May. He skips away in pure bliss, leaving Richard and Vivi stunned by his excessive spending. Vivi seems touched by the expensive gesture, which gives Richard a brilliant, cheap idea. Richard pulls out an ancient, outdated phone and offers it to Vivi in exchange for a half-day date. Nathan walks Vivi home at night, enjoying a quiet moment after their recent outings. Unknown to them, a group of armed men lurks around a corner, preparing to ambush the pair in the alley. The thugs jump out with knives drawn, demanding Nathan's valuables while ordering Vivi to stay behind. Nathan attempts to play the hero by shielding Vivi and offering to stay if they let her go. After a brief standoff with the aggressive muggers, Nathan and Vivi share a quick, silent signal with their eyes. Instead of fighting, Nathan grabs Vivi's hand and they both bolt at full speed, leaving the baffled thugs behind. Later, a police officer interrogates a man about why he initiated a physical altercation in public. The man insists he was teaching a lesson to a guy who was bothering his girlfriend. His confidence shatters when the officer informs him that the couple he attacked has actually been married for 2 years. Back in the city, Nathan tells Vivi that he considers himself a very lucky person. He explains his gratitude for having loving parents, reliable friends, and a girl he considers his dream partner. Vivi expresses her own jealousy, noting that her current company is far from her ideal match. Despite his previous optimism, Nathan later confesses to Vivi that he is actually feeling quite depressed. Vivi asks for clarification, confused by his sudden change in mood and outward appearance of happiness. Nathan questions his chances with May given his lack of money or a car, and Vivi gives him a harsh dose of reality. Elsewhere, a woman in a red dress discusses relationship expectations with a man in a green hoodie. She demands to know why he failed to bring her flowers for her birthday, prompting an immediate apology. She lays down the law, stating that flowers are now mandatory for every single holiday throughout the year. When the man asks when he might receive a gift in return, she bluntly suggests it will only happen at his funeral. Nathan and May visit an amusement park, where she points out the Ferris wheel for their next stop. Thinking it's the perfect romantic spot for a confession, Nathan happily holds her hand as they head over. They board the ride and close their eyes, expecting a peaceful moment as the wheel turns. The romantic mood is instantly shattered when the ride starts spinning at terrifying speeds. Nearby, a group of girls admires a photo of a guy with incredibly long eyelashes. Nathan decides to use a special serum to grow his own lashes, hoping to win some popularity. After a few days of treatment, a classmate notices a significant change in Nathan's appearance. She compliments him on his impressively long lashes, and Nathan feels his plan is working perfectly. He basks in the attention of the ladies, feeling like a total superstar with his new look. The other guys aren't as impressed, comparing his bizarrely long lashes to those of a camel. The girls eventually find the look unsettling and lose interest, leaving Nathan back at square one. While browsing online, Nathan finds a user with cute memes much more appealing than the typical trolls. He asks the person out for a meal, and is excited when they accept with another adorable image. When Nathan arrives for the date, he's stunned to find out his online interest isn't who he expected. His companion explains that people often use misleading avatars to navigate the digital world. Nathan realizes he was fooled by the cute online persona and laments his poor choice. Another man prepares to meet an online friend named Kisaragi for the very first time. He checks her profile photo one last time, nervous about whether she'll live up to his expectations. To his surprise, Kisaragi is even more stunning in person, leaving him completely starstruck. The girl introduces herself shyly, appearing to be quite modest about her looks. She asks if he has any issues with the personal detail she mentioned in their previous chats. He assumes she's just insecure about her height or build and assures her she's adorable. After promising to accept the real her, both of them decide to take a quick bathroom break. The man is hit with a shocking revelation at the urinals that completely redefines their relationship. A man watches a TV interview featuring a successful author. Reporters ask the interviewee for the secret to winning over his wife. He recalls being a poor youth with no chance against wealthy competitors. Nathan takes notes, believing persistence and loyalty are the keys to romance. The interviewer assumes his loyalty won her over, but he disagrees. The man reveals his wife proposed only after he won a massive lottery. Nathan stands petrified as the realization of the man's superficial success sinks in. A woman walks a white dog, letting the animal lead the way. The dog stops directly in front of a local sauna. The woman calls a friend, confused why the pet chose this specific destination. The friend explains that Nathan is usually the one taking the dog out. Nathan panics when his secret habit of visiting saunas is exposed by the dog. Nathan and May chat about their favorite childhood fairy tales while walking. Nathan ponders the story of The Little Mermaid, finding the ending illogical. May asks for clarification on why he finds the classic tale problematic. He questions the logistics of a human prince living with a sea creature. Nathan explains that a mermaid's massive offspring count would ruin the prince financially. May invites Nathan to play a round of strategy board games. She sets up the board and offers to explain the game's mechanics. Nathan immediately asks if the game pieces can be sold for a profit. Nathan greets a tall customer while working his shift at a clothing store. He warns her that a specific item is out of stock in larger sizes. The customer becomes enraged, resulting in Nathan's immediate termination by his boss. Nathan reflects on the misunderstanding, noting the clothes were simply too short. Nathan explains his philosophy that the world should be fairer, where effort equals reward. May listens, seemingly curious about his logic. Nathan applies this logic to his feelings, suggesting that since he likes her, she should naturally like him back. May looks skeptical as he makes his move. May turns the logic against him, explaining that since she's attractive, and he isn't, it's only fair that she doesn't return his feelings. Nathan is left speechless by her cold reasoning. A young man asks his friend Vivi to be his girlfriend, but she immediately turns him down. Vivi's rejection is swift and firm. When he asks for a reason, Vivi admits she has always viewed him as a brother. The news hits him like a lightning bolt of disappointment. The young man tries to pivot, suggesting they can still be a close duo. But Vivi is completely over the conversation. Her expression shows she's not interested in his new angle. Woodle laments his lack of romantic success, wondering what's wrong with him besides his physical appearance. He lies in bed, staring at the ceiling in despair. Nathan points out that his self-admitted flaws are more than enough reason for his struggle. Woodle looks shocked by Nathan's blunt honesty. Nathan sarcastically advises Woodle to treat any future girlfriend well if he ever finds one. He speaks with a smirk, knowing the odds are slim. Nathan adds a final jab, saying that any girl who dates him would have to be blind, so he shouldn't make her life harder. Woodle is left reeling from the savage roast. Woodle posts a list of incredibly high standards for a potential partner online. A year passes without a single reply, leading him to wonder if he's being too picky. He decides to lower his expectations slightly, though the list remains quite specific. He continues to wait by his computer for any sign of interest. Still facing total silence, Woodle realizes he needs to lower his sights even further to get any traction. He looks increasingly desperate as he stares at the screen. Finally, he settles on the bare minimum requirements of being female and alive. This simple strategy works immediately as he receives his first reply. The respondent asks if it's okay if they only meet half of the requirements. Woodle panics, worrying that the gender requirement might be the one they are missing. Despite his fears, Woodle decides to take the chance and meet the person in person. He encounters a pale, mysterious figure in the moonlight who recognizes him. Woodle notes that the person looks remarkably like a girl, leading him to assume the requirement of being alive was the one they failed to meet. He realizes he's talking to a spirit. The entity insists she's a real girl despite her ghostly appearance and spooky aura. Woodle doesn't stick around to find out and sprints away in absolute terror. Nathan listens as two women discuss using toys to vent their frustrations. He realizes that managing emotions could be a lucrative market. A light bulb goes off in Nathan's head as he spots a major business opportunity. He envisions a way to profit from people's need to blow off steam. He plans to create custom balloon dolls of people that customers dislike. He is excited about the potential popularity of such a unique product. Nathan sets up an online shop for custom vent dolls and is shocked to see 35 orders already. The business is off to an unexpectedly fast start. Eager to see who the local jerks are, Nathan prepares to check the uploaded photos from his customers. He expects to see a variety of unpopular faces. To his horror, every single order features a photo of himself as the target. His screen is filled with images of his own face sent in by angry customers. Nathan reads through the comments where customers describe him as their least favorite person. He's conflicted about whether he should actually take the money from people who dislike him so much. Woodle suggests that if Nathan really wants to get rich, he should just rent himself out as a human punching bag. Nathan is not amused and tells his friend where to go. A street magician pulls a pigeon from his hat to impress a lone spectator. He tips his cap, offering to reward the man for his attention. The magician reveals his true nature and offers a supernatural gift. The spectator carefully weighs the pros and cons of the magician's offer. Years later, the man sits alone, looking dejected while cooling himself with a fan. He laments having incredible talents, but never finding the opportunity to use them. Nathan researches social strategies to improve his success with others. A sudden idea strikes him as he prepares to test a new tactic. Manny rushes to meet him, waving as she apologizes for being late. Nathan greets her with a blunt and awkward comment about her physique. Manny is completely stunned by the unexpected remark. He tries to be romantic by claiming extra weight would provide more to love. A woman walks with her companion while admiring her new charms. She asks for help securing a floral keepsake around her wrist. They quickly realize the accessory has become stuck and won't come off. Her companion desperately tries to unfasten the stubborn keepsake. Nathan walks with a noticeable limp while his friend asks what happened. He explains having a bad premonition while passing a construction zone. He admits he was so busy looking up for falling objects that he stepped on a nail. Richard is scheduled for appendicitis surgery and looks quite nervous as he clutches his side. He spots a nurse and tries to lighten the mood by asking her out to dinner. The nurse calmly informs him that he will be meeting her boyfriend very soon in the operating room. The boyfriend turns out to be the lead surgeon, who looks ready to start the procedure with a very serious expression. Nathan notices May looks a bit different after the long holiday and mentions she seems a little heavier. May is immediately self-conscious and starts checking her reflection, regretting her recent snack choices. Realizing he has made a mistake, Nathan tries to think of a way to salvage the conversation. He attempts a joke about there being more of her to love, but his delivery is completely off. May reacts with a look of pure horror at the clumsy comment. The social blunder leaves Nathan feeling defeated as May walks away in a huff. Richard's phone starts ringing with an incoming call from Yanni. Yanni answers cheerfully, asking what is on his mind today. Richard asks her if she prefers a small or medium size, but the phrasing leads to a massive misunderstanding. Yanni loses her temper over the phone, thinking he is being inappropriate. Richard is left in despair because he was actually just trying to buy her a clothing gift. He stands in the middle of a clothing store, sighing over his failed attempt at a nice gesture. While traveling, May tells Nathan that she is getting very hungry as they head toward destination. She struggles to open a tough food packet, straining against the packaging. The packet suddenly bursts open, spraying the contents everywhere. A piece of the food lands directly on Nathan's forehead, leaving him stunned. Nathan tries to use humor to stop her from feeling bad about the mess, making a joke about her wanting to eat him. May takes the joke literally and prepares to pour hot water from a kettle, making the situation even more awkward. A tough-looking vendor stands behind her fruit stall, offering sweet oranges to passersby. Nathan approaches the stand and asks if the fruit is actually for sale. The vendor gives him a confident look and invites him to taste a sample for himself. Nathan takes a bite and begins to chew, testing the quality of the orange. His face contorts in disgust as he realizes the fruit is incredibly sour. His friend suggests they leave quickly because the vendor looks quite intimidating. The vendor stares him down, intensely asking if the orange he just ate was sour. Fearing her reaction, Nathan lies and claims it was sweet, blaming his wince on a mouth sore. The vendor decides to help by forcefully feeding him the rest of the oranges right there on the ground. Vivi and Richard take a stroll past a massive skyscraper. Vivi questions Richard on whether he's secretly wealthy and just pretending to be poor. She assumes he's hiding his riches to find a girl who likes him for who he truly is. Richard contemplates the idea, wishing his family actually was wealthy. He seriously wonders if his own father is playing a long game to find a worthy successor for a hidden fortune. Nathan spots May indulging in chocolate despite her claims of being on a diet. When asked if she's losing weight, May nonchalantly confirms while she keeps snacking. Nathan warns her that a few pieces of chocolate will completely undo a full day of hard work. He's baffled as to why she continues to eat if she's aware of the consequences. May's logic dictates that she must eat so her exercise has a purpose, leaving Nathan speechless. Richard shows up with a face so swollen it looks like he's storing nuts for the winter. Vivi brings up the fact that she saw him getting pummeled by a group of guys the day before. She describes the beatdown as absolutely terrible to witness. Naturally, Richard wants to know why she didn't step in to help him out. Vivi cold-heartedly explains that the four guys were doing such a good job, they didn't need her assistance. A man visits a temple and tries to strike up a conversation with a silent nun. He recognizes her and asks if she remembers their time together back when they were students. He recalls her being too shy to confess her feelings to him in the past. He asks the million-dollar question. Why did she decide to join the temple of all places? The nun snaps, revealing that he once gave her a religious mantra tape that she took way too seriously. A friend asks Richard for the inside scoop, on why things ended with his ex-girlfriend. Richard explains that she used to tell him she was going out to meet her boyfriend. He spent the whole relationship thinking she just had a really weird, humorous personality. The friend is confused and asks why that would lead to a sudden breakup. Richard breaks down in tears as he realizes she wasn't joking at all and was just being brutally honest. Nathan sits through a formal interview, where the employer confirms his identity with a stern look. The man behind the desk appears to be deep in thought as he examines Nathan's background. Nathan realizes this man is an acquaintance of his father and starts to feel optimistic about his chances. The interviewer closes his eyes, reflecting on memories from his days as a student. Nathan clenches his fist in excitement, convinced that his family connection has secured him the job. The mood shifts instantly when the boss reveals that Nathan's father was actually a bully who targeted him back in school. Richard and Vivi spend some quiet time together, but Vivi expresses her deep anxiety about the effects of aging. Richard attempts to comfort her with a bizarre compliment, claiming she will always have youth inside of her. He immediately ruins the sentiment by wondering aloud which specific younger version of her he should prefer. Vivi's touched expression turns to annoyance as she demands her tears back from her tactless boyfriend. The couple walks through the city after a shopping trip, with Richard looking particularly worn out. Richard tells Vivi that his entire life has changed since they met, sounding quite serious about the impact she's had. Vivi looks at him with curiosity, waiting to hear the romantic conclusion of his thought. Instead, Richard admits that he's run out of money and just wants to know if he can finally buy a coat for the cold weather. Vivi is left speechless as Richard prioritizes basic survival over her shopping spree. Richard works up the courage to ask Vivi when she will finally agree to marry him. Vivi gives him a wink and sets a steep financial requirement of 100,000 yuan. Despite the goal, she continues to shop relentlessly while Richard watches his bank balance vanish. Richard nervously suggests that she doesn't need to force herself to shop if it means they'll never reach the marriage goal. Vivi remains focused on the products, simply repeating her demand for the specific amount of savings. Richard bursts into tears, realizing that her spending habits make it impossible for him to ever save enough to marry her. Vivi stands in a dramatic pose, sighing deeply as if burdened by a great weight. When Richard asks what is bothering her, she bluntly states that she is feeling very unhappy. Richard encourages her to share her feelings, hoping to resolve whatever is making her sad. She explains that her mother taught her that the most important skill in life is spending a husband's money. Vivi begins to cry, lamenting that her mother's strict rules prevent her from simply asking for money, forcing her to take it instead. A guy with blue hair tests the waters by asking a girl if she would slap her boyfriend for $100. She tells him it depends on who the boyfriend is, leading him to offer himself up as a candidate. When she refuses to slap him, he mistakenly believes it's because she has feelings for him. She immediately crushes his hopes by declaring she would never date him in the first place. While Nathan is driving May home, a traffic officer signals for him to pull over for a routine check. Nathan complies and breathes into a testing device, which registers a perfect 0 for alcohol content. The officer is skeptical of the result and demands that Nathan take the test a second time. Another officer steps in to check the device, confirming that the reading hasn't changed at all. The senior officer looks at May sitting in the passenger seat and realizes Nathan is just acting strange because he's on a date. They decide to let him go, laughing about the awkward energy of youth. Later, Nathan tells his father to stop acting like a child and rolling on the ground whenever his mother is angry. His father claims that his dramatic behavior is actually a secret form of revenge. He explains that despite the drama, his wife still ends up doing all his laundry for him. Nathan's friend Woodle expresses concern that his parents won't approve of him dating a woman 10 years his senior. Nathan suggests a bait-and-switch plan where Woodle introduces a male partner first to make the actual girlfriend seem like a relief. They put the plan into action, with Nathan posing as Woodle's boyfriend and announcing they want to get married. Woodle's parents are visibly stunned by the sudden revelation. However, the plan backfires when the parents actually approve of the relationship and tell Woodle to cherish Nathan. Back with May, Nathan asks her what he needs to do to finally win her over. May stops to think seriously about his request for a moment. Nathan grows hopeful, believing that he might finally have a real chance with her. May tells him she'll be his girlfriend if he wins a Darwin Award, prompting a confused Nathan to call a friend to ask what that is. His friend explains the dark history of the honor and bluntly tells Nathan that he'll never be able to earn one. Nathan looks completely downcast as May asks what has him so upset. He reveals he's scheduled for a surgery that he simply can't postpone any longer. Desperate for support, Nathan asks May to be his girlfriend before he goes under the knife. He makes the procedure sound life-threatening, only to reveal he's just talking about getting a haircut. May isn't amused by the melodrama and delivers a swift reality check for his theatrics. In another encounter, May questions Nathan's tardiness, and he claims he was out buying a gift for his girlfriend. The news catches May off guard as she wonders when he actually managed to find a partner. Nathan shows off a pair of gloves and tells her that his relationship status is entirely up to her. During a heated argument, May pulls out her phone and threatens to call someone to deal with him. Nathan dismisses the threat, acting like he has absolutely nothing to fear. A delivery man shows up shortly after, confirming Nathan's identity before things take a turn. The man proceeds to give Nathan a physical lesson as a flurry of punches fills the air. Nathan is left sobbing with a heavily bruised face after after the unexpected beatdown. He spots a small slip of paper that the delivery man dropped during the scuffle. Reading the note, Nathan realizes May hired the delivery guy to rough him up in exchange for a big tip. Later, Nathan gives May a ride on the back of his bicycle through the streets. May asks how he pulled it off, while Nathan tries to act tough about the physical strain. She quickly shuts him down, clarifying that she wasn't asking about his endurance. The duo stands amidst shattered glass after Nathan accidentally rode the bike right through a storefront. Elsewhere, Woodall discovers a brand new noodle shop and decides to give it a try. He's instantly smitten by the beautiful waitress and eagerly orders a bowl of pork noodles. Woodall becomes a constant fixture at the restaurant, ordering various side dishes every day just to see her. The waitress recognizes her most loyal customer and asks for his order as usual. Woodall finally works up the courage to ask for her contact info, but she politely informs him it's not on the menu. A blue-haired boy tries to convince his companion that they aren't actually in a relationship despite appearances. The brown-haired girl calmly encourages him to just tell her the truth, promising not to get angry. He continues to insist on his innocence, leaving the girl wondering what she ever saw in him in the first place. Standing by a Christmas tree, the boy notes that the end of the year is the perfect time for single people to find a partner. The girl asks if he has ever considered finding someone for himself. He dramatically claims that he is a special case. After a brief silent pause, he prepares to deliver a punchline. He reveals that his hair is the only thing being taken, leaving his friend completely speechless at the terrible joke. May looks over at Nathan and suggests that he might want to consider losing some weight. Nathan flatly refuses the idea while adjusting his posture. He argues that having extra padding is actually a strategic advantage for when she inevitably loses her temper with him. May stares at him with pure annoyance as he tries to justify his logic. Nathan shifts gears and decides to tell a story about two rabbits with very specific names. He sets up a riddle where one rabbit passes away, asking May to identify the survivor. When he tries to trick her into saying a romantic phrase, she immediately shuts him down and tells him to snap back to reality. Elsewhere, a man in a lab coat notices a woman is visibly upset during their conversation. She accuses him of making fun of her physical size. He tries to smooth things over by telling her to be more confident and raise her chin. When she lifts her head, he delivers a final insult by telling her he meant the other chin. May asks Nathan to finish her workload so she can leave the office early for the day. Nathan questions where she is going, only for her to reveal she is meeting her ex-boyfriend for dinner. He immediately demands to tag along, but May is disappointed when he clarifies he just wants her to bring him back some leftovers. May sighs in frustration as Nathan stays behind, more interested in a free meal than her romantic life. While May is away on a business trip, Nathan is tasked with looking after her goldfish. He calls her to comment on how pretty the fish look, but May immediately becomes suspicious of his tone. She demands he tell her the truth about how many are actually alive, and a sweating Nathan admits that none of them survived his care. Nathan stares at the phone in despair as he realizes he will have to face the consequences soon. Nathan asks Woodall how his attempts at winning over a girl are progressing. Woodall points her out as she approaches, looking confident that she will be his girlfriend shortly. The girl immediately knocks Woodall to the ground with a powerful physical strike. She stands over him and declares she would only date him if he were no longer living. Despite the rejection and the injury, Woodall remains delusional and tells Nathan that things are going great. Richard wonders why women are attracted to bad boys, while Vivi admits she wishes her own boyfriend would act like one. When Richard asks if she would like him better if he changed his personality, she gives him an immediate and flat rejection. A shocked Richard asks for an explanation for her obvious double standard. Vivi explains she wants a wealthy man who will buy her expensive luxury handbags. She fantasizes about a man who spends massive amounts of cash on her every whim. In her ideal scenario, the man would then leave her ruthlessly so she could claim a massive payout. Richard watches in horror as Vivi dreams about receiving millions in compensation for a breakup. Richard tells Vivi he has already bought her a birthday surprise and asks her to guess what it is. Vivi guesses a specific perfume she has been dreaming about, but Richard tells her to keep trying. She then suggests a brand of lipstick, while Richard decides to keep the final answer a secret until the big day. Richard secretly plots to buy whichever of the three items is the cheapest, feeling like a financial genius. Vivi claps her hands in excitement, mistakenly believing she is getting all three of the items she mentioned. Richard is left completely stunned as his plan to save money leads to a massive misunderstanding. Nathan helps May's niece with a jigsaw puzzle, trying to look impressive. He brags about being the best while giving a confident thumbs up. The niece later warns May that Nathan is actually quite slow, revealing she was the one doing all the work. Nathan remains oblivious, struggling to fit a simple piece into the puzzle. Woodall spends time with his girlfriend on a bright, sunny day. He turns down a movie invitation because he lacks the specific life experience mentioned in the film's title. His girlfriend is left speechless by his bizarre and overly literal reasoning. Nathan and May visit an art museum to appreciate classic masterpieces. May expresses her deep admiration for Leonardo da Vinci's wide range of genius. Nathan attempts to compete with the historical figure by bringing up his own cooking abilities. He declares himself more awesome than the legendary inventor, much to May's disbelief. Woodall meets a girl for a meal but decides he isn't interested in pursuing her. He tries to reject her by claiming he has no money or property to offer. The girl shuts him down instantly, stating that her rejection is based purely on his looks. Richard is confused when he receives a message from Vivi claiming it's her final communication. Thinking something is wrong, he quickly pays her overdue phone bill to keep the line open. Vivi reveals it was just a trick to get her bill paid, thanking him for the assistance. Richard realizes he's been played and promises himself he won't fall for her schemes again. Later that night, he receives another message from Vivi claiming she's feeling itchy and needs him to come over. Forgetting his earlier vow, Richard's imagination goes into overdrive as he sprints toward her home. Woodle asks Vivi for her definition of a handsome man, while she holds up a small mirror. She points the glass directly at him so he can see his own reflection. Misinterpreting the gesture entirely, Woodle's eyes sparkle as he wonders if she is calling him attractive. Vivi crushes his ego by explaining that anyone who looks better than him is what she considers handsome. Nathan complains about his partner's aggression, leading Richard to suggest martial arts training as a way to find balance. Despite his doubts, Nathan decides to see if the training will make any difference in her behavior. A month later, Richard checks in to see if the martial arts lessons have changed May's attitude. Nathan admits she still attacks him, but now she follows proper etiquette by bowing respectfully before the strike. While out for a walk, Vivi spots a designer handbag and expresses her desire for the item. She uses a playful tone to convince Richard that he should be the one to buy the accessory for her. When Richard questions what he gets out of the deal, Vivi claims the reward is the honor of giving her such a gift. Vivi later stages a dramatic scene on the floor to make it appear as though she is being mistreated. A bystander with a wooden club intervenes, scolding Richard for his supposed lack of character. The man demands that Richard apologize for the situation Vivi completely fabricated. Richard finally sees through the scheme and realizes the entire confrontation was a trap set by Vivi. Once her manipulation is successful, Vivi drops the act and laughs at Richard's expense. Woodle tries to flirt by asking Vivi if she has any experience playing arcade claw machines. He follows up with a cheesy line, asking how she managed to capture his heart so easily. Vivi shuts him down with cold logic, claiming he was simply too large of a target to miss. Woodle recalls a girl he met on a bus during his date. He explains the meeting to his companion. The two argued after she accidentally stepped on his meal. Woodle claims he won the verbal argument through sheer eloquence. However, his swollen face reveals he lost the physical altercation. A woman eating fast food convinces herself her face looks thinner. Her companion, Betta, bluntly states that nothing has changed. He explains her face only seems smaller because her eyes are currently swollen. Richard tries to speak with Vivi, but she remains completely unresponsive. He resorts to heavy flattery to get her attention. Vivi calls out his lies while he claims other girls agree with him. An exhausted Nathan is invited by a coworker to donate blood. They arrive at the mobile donation clinic. The doctor tells Nathan he is too thin to donate and offers him snacks. Nathan insists he isn't interested in the free gifts. The doctor assumes Nathan is only there to see the staff, leaving him speechless. Richard spots Vivi and asks about her boyfriend's lifestyle. He inquires if the man owns a car or a house. Vivi briefly confirms that he has neither. Richard asks if the mystery man is at least wealthy. He mocks the man's lack of success until Vivi reveals she doesn't actually have a boyfriend. Nathan walks through a terminal with a colleague who watches him closely during their business trip. Night falls over a large apartment complex as a crescent moon shines. A colleague asks Nathan to visit her room with files, but he chooses the efficiency of digital transfer instead. A man vents his frustration at a laptop during a massive online sale event. He complains about people with partners taking all the deals on virtual items. His friends watch as he continues his heated rant about the shopping competition. The man wonders why his friends are staring at him with such judgment. Nathan and a friend mock the man's physique instead of sympathizing with his single status. Manny eats a massive fast food feast while a researcher asks about her recent weigh-in. The man in the lab coat criticizes her high-fat diet and questions her self-awareness. Manny shows off her empty food containers while insisting she is fully aware of her physical size. She admits her lack of self-control regarding food as the researcher looks on in silence. A woman asks Nathan to spot changes in her appearance while she wears a new outfit. Nathan gives a flat no and refuses to acknowledge any differences despite her prompting. He leans in for a closer look but remains completely oblivious to her new cosmetics. Nathan ends up flat on the floor after receiving a swift strike for his bluntness. The woman yells about the expensive makeup he completely failed to notice. Nathan breaks down in tears following the physical and verbal lashing. The woman shares her positive mood with Nathan during a walk outdoors. She feels nostalgic after being called a stupid kid, finding the comment endearing. Nathan ruins the sentiment by suggesting a much harsher insult is more appropriate for her. Nathan asks May to go out with him, hoping for a romantic connection. He makes a grand romantic gesture, but immediately ruins it by asking for space on specific days. A confused May asks why he would need such a strange arrangement. Nathan excitedly reveals that he simply wants uninterrupted time to play PC games. May loses her temper and gives him a quick physical correction for his skewed priorities. Later, Nathan presents a massive bouquet of roses and asks May to be his girlfriend. May agrees but mentions a future family dynamic that catches him off guard. She suddenly grabs him by the collar, turning the romantic moment into a comedy. Nathan ends up on the floor as she scolds him for being too presumptuous about their future. May visits Nathan at his computer and promises to treat him to dinner later that evening. While they are out, May enjoys the atmosphere and engages in light conversation. She holds up a glass of juice and mentions feeling a bit lightheaded. Nathan suddenly takes her hand, making her think a romantic move is coming. May's heart starts racing as she gazes at him with a blush. Instead of a confession, Nathan accuses her of faking her dizziness just to avoid paying the dinner bill. May is left fuming at his total lack of social awareness. During a walk, May asks if he has any truly unforgettable life experiences. Nathan looks deep in thought as he recalls a trip from his teenage years. He describes a moment of temporary sweetness that supposedly led to a period of long misery. May tries to sympathize, thinking he suffered through a tragic childhood heartbreak. The truth is far less poetic, as Nathan explains he just got his tongue stuck to a frozen metal pole. Nathan tries one more time to express his feelings to May directly. May looks away, appearing conflicted or perhaps just tired of his antics. When he asks her to be his girlfriend again, she gives him a firm no with a shake of her head. Nathan is devastated and demands to know what place he actually holds in her heart. May delivers the final blow by telling him that he doesn't have a place there at all. Nathan poses a riddle to May while sporting a bold graphic tee. As they walk, he asks her to guess how many legs he has. Nathan makes a crude joke about having an extra limb while signaling a thumbs up. May prepares to deliver a physical correction with a bat for his comment. Later, May asks Nathan to identify her character flaws. Nathan initially claims she is perfect to avoid conflict. After being urged to be honest, he suggests she work on her temper. May listens quietly, hiding her true reaction to the critique. Nathan mistakenly believes he has successfully navigated the conversation. Nathan presents a large birthday gift to May with high expectations. May is initially thrilled to see an expensive smartphone box. Nathan encourages her to look inside for a final surprise. The box actually contains cheap chocolates, causing May's excitement to vanish. May finds a hidden note inside one of the wrappers. The note asks her to be his girlfriend, prompting her to strike him immediately. The setting shifts to a bright afternoon outdoors. Nathan shares anatomical facts while jogging alongside May. He explains that the eyelid is the thinnest part of human skin. Nathan continues his academic lecture while focusing on their workout. May counters by claiming she knows which skin is the thickest. Nathan curiously asks for the answer to her trivia. May implies Nathan is thick-skinned by pointing to the face. Nathan misses the insult and praises her for being knowledgeable. May feels defeated by his total lack of social awareness. Woodle advises Nathan to ditch flowers for popular internet food. Nathan finds a trending item on his phone to impress May. A week later, May is overwhelmed by a foul odor at Nathan's home. Nathan reveals he bought pungent fermented fish as a unique treat. May becomes physically unwell from the scent and fleas. Woodle sees her leaving in distress and asks Nathan for the details. Other peers mistake the situation for a romantic success and ask for tips. Nathan arrogantly claims he will take responsibility while May looms angrily behind him. Nathan offers to teach May how to play a popular battleground game so she can finally win a match. At the internet cafe, he requests a private room while handing over payment and identification. The clerk returns the ID, looking satisfied with the transaction while May stands by. However, the clerk quickly turns judgmental, shocked that Nathan is letting the girl pay for the room herself. Once inside, Nathan begins a technical breakdown of the keyboard controls to get May started. Despite the lesson, May quickly loses the game and looks downcast by her lack of progress. Later, Woodle gives Nathan some questionable advice about how girls are sensitive to small, thoughtful gestures. He smirks while explaining that being considerate in subtle ways is the key to winning someone over. He uses an example of a man tilting his umbrella to keep a girl dry, even if it means getting his own shoulder wet. Nathan is thrilled when it starts raining, believing this is his perfect opportunity to be a hero. May is already feeling self-conscious about her appearance in the gloomy weather. Nathan swoops in with an umbrella, and May politely thanks him for the help. To show off his thoughtfulness, Nathan intentionally tilts the umbrella away from himself, so his shoulder gets soaked. May notices the wet shoulder, but instead of being touched, she worries that she is too large to fit under the umbrella with him. Overwhelmed by self-doubt, she bursts into tears and runs away, leaving Nathan standing in the rain completely baffled. The next day, Nathan sports a swollen cheek while complaining about how hard it is to address female clients without offending them. He explains that traditional titles are often seen as either disrespectful or too informal nowadays. He tells May that his attempt at a creative new title resulted in him getting punched. When May asks what he actually called the woman, Nathan reveals his bizarre choice. May stares at him in disbelief, suggesting he spent way too much time reading ancient religious texts. Determined to turn things around, Nathan decides that his birthday is the ultimate time to confess his feelings. He tells May he has a birthday wish and hints that she is the central part of it. May remains unimpressed, flatly telling him that she likely won't be part of whatever he's planning. Meanwhile, Richard sits in a cafe alone, staring at 2 cups of coffee. The waitress is curious and asks why he always orders an extra drink every single day. Richard explains that the second cup is for a girl he likes, though he's too nervous to actually invite her. The waitress gets her hopes up, only to be crushed when Richard's oblivious nature ruins the moment. Richard lies in bed feeling ill while Yanni sits by his side, listening as he asks if she will remember him after he passes. Yanni looks down at him with a somber expression and promises that she definitely will. When she asks if he would find someone else if she were gone, Richard bluntly admits that he would. Infuriated by his honesty, Yanni tightly clenches his hands in a display of possessive frustration. She leans in close and threatens to haunt him forever, leaving the sick man looking completely terrified. Nathan and May walk past a pet shop where she mentions her desire to adopt a kitten. Nathan attempts a smooth move by asking if she would rather just keep him instead. Later, May stops to admire some flowers and expresses an interest in keeping those as well. Nathan ruins the moment by coldly stating that anything she tries to keep will eventually die. May shoots back that she would definitely like to keep him then, leaving Nathan looking stunned and embarrassed. A tired-looking guy explains to his companion in red that he's feeling listless after a long night. He admits that a horror movie left him too terrified to even close his eyes and fall asleep. The girl urges him to hurry through the airport because their flight is scheduled to depart soon. The guy panics and screams about seeing a ghost, only for it to be a woman simply tying her shoes. His companion scolds him for being afraid of everything and warns him to stop being so dramatic. At the security checkpoint, a guard informs the girl that her bottle of makeup remover is too large to carry on. Thinking he's helping, the guy grabs the bottle and pours the entire contents over the girl's face. The girl stands in shock as her makeup is completely dissolved and smeared across her face. Realizing he's in major trouble, the guy sprints away as his companion fumes with silent rage. Nathan speeds down a public road on a scooter, catching May's eye as he zooms past. May catches up to him and warns him that driving so recklessly is incredibly dangerous. Nathan cockily claims he has nothing to worry about because a fortune teller predicted he would live to be 99. May kills his confidence by suggesting he might spend those years in a hospital bed after a wreck. A guy approaches Vivi while she's applying lipstick and asks her to be his girlfriend. He claims he likes her because she's cute, hoping the simple compliment will win her over. Vivi turns to him with a skeptical look and asks him to specify what exactly makes her cute. She sets a challenge, telling him she'll give him a chance if he can name 20 cute traits. To reach the number, the guy starts listing every individual facial feature and limb he can think of. Vivi stares at him with total disbelief as he asks if she wants to hear the rest of his ridiculous list. Vivi complains to her friend about losing interest in her boyfriend because he's just too perfect and dependable. She explains that without any drama or competition from other girls, her relationship has become incredibly boring. May asks if the guy has any bad habits, but Vivi confirms he is completely flawless. Vivi covers her face in frustration, feeling trapped by her boyfriend's lack of any negative traits. In a desperate move to spice things up, she asks May if she would be willing to try and seduce him. A man in a green shirt sighs heavily while discussing his recent dating life with a friend. He explains that he met an online pal in person, but left immediately because her appearance didn't match her photos. His friend is confused as to why he's the one acting depressed, if he was the one who walked away. The man breaks down in tears, admitting his ego was crushed because the girl actually ran away even faster than he did. Nathan visits May and Vivi, and May asks him to grab some milk from the refrigerator for her. As Nathan reaches for the handle, he gets hit with a massive surge of electricity that makes his hair stand on end. He collapses onto the floor, gasping that the fridge is dangerously leaking power. May casually admits she already knew it was broken and just used him to see if it was still live. A traumatized Nathan shivers on the floor, realizing he was just a human test subject for her appliance repairs. May enjoys a cup of coffee while Nathan prepares himself to finally make a successful romantic confession. May begins pouting and looking away, leaving Nathan confused about what might be wrong. He wonders if the coffee is too hot and tries to show off his cleverness by treating her expression like a riddle. He stares intensely at her pouting face, trying to decipher what animal she might be imitating. Nathan confidently guesses she's acting like a donkey and receives a sharp slap to the face for his insult. In a movie, a character ties his shoelaces to a girl's heels to create a reason for her to trip. The girl falls perfectly into the man's arms, completing a classic romantic trope. Nathan calls the move stupid, but May admits she finds the tactic quite interesting. Inspired by her reaction, Nathan looks at her and decides to put the movie trick into practice. He pretends to drop his phone so he can secretly tie May's shoes to his own. He successfully hitches their footwear together and prepares for the big moment as they get up to leave. The plan works, but instead of a romantic embrace, May accidentally knees him right in the stomach. Nathan hunches over in agony, apologizing for his failed attempt at recreating cinema magic. Nathan worries that his date isn't going well since May hasn't accepted his feelings yet. He asks her to wait for a moment while he prepares a special surprise. May waits patiently, wondering what he'd possibly be finishing. Nathan reveals himself standing inside a heart made of lit candles while holding a confession letter. May looks concerned and tries to warn him, but he insists on continuing his speech. He passionately declares that she set his heart on fire the moment they met. Unfortunately, the candles actually set his pants on fire, sending him into a panic. Nathan's pants end up burnt into shorts, which May awkwardly claims looks fashionable. Despite the smoke and charred clothes, Nathan hands over his heart-sealed confession letter. May takes the note and begins to read the old-school message. The letter expresses Nathan's wish for them to live in a world where only they exist. May smiles and tells him she actually finds the gesture very romantic. Thinking he has a real chance, Nathan moves in close and makes a heart gesture with his hands. May immediately shuts down the moment by delivering a sharp slap to his face. Nathan quickly recovers and tells May he has another surprise waiting for her. Massive fireworks begin to light up the night sky above the city buildings. Nathan points to a giant digital screen asking strangers to take a rose from a box and give it to the beautiful girl. May looks around and tells Nathan that she doesn't see a single person bringing her a flower. Nathan realizes his plan failed because strangers are simply keeping the expensive roses for themselves. Even a stray dog passes by the empty box that was supposed to be full of flowers for May. May watches as other people walk away with the roses Nathan spent half his yearly salary on. She manages to find one remaining rose and feels touched by the effort he put into being romantic. May suddenly starts running and playfully tells Nathan to try and catch her. The two run through the city streets together under heart-shaped fireworks. Nathan brainstorms how to stand out from all the other men who constantly admire May. He decides that since she's used to praise, he should try a completely different approach. While other guys offer May flowers and compliments, Nathan decides to insult her instead. His plan to stand out works perfectly, though it results in him getting a massive slap across the cheek. A chemist works in his lab while pondering if May truly loves him. He continues his internal she loves me not game while distracted with his chemical mixtures. A supervisor warns him that he is adding too much of a volatile substance to the beaker. The lab ends up exploding in the background just as May walks by outside. Nathan paces around his living room, agonizing over whether to watch a soccer match or go shopping with his girlfriend. He leans on the couch, convinced he absolutely must watch the high-stakes game between Germany and Belgium. Sweat pours down his face as he battles the guilt of neglecting his partner, only to suddenly realize he doesn't even have one. A wave of relief washes over him as he celebrates his singleness with a carefree laugh. He eventually settles into a solitary routine, lounging on the couch surrounded by empty bottles and cans. Nathan's father sits at the table, complaining that his meal is either too salty or completely tasteless. His mother isn't having any of it, firing back that he's being way too picky with his food. The father doubles down on his criticism, insisting that his wife needs to improve her cooking skills immediately. Nathan stays quiet and keeps eating while his mother reaches her breaking point, telling her husband to leave if he doesn't like the food. Claiming he was only trying to help her improve, the father decides to storm out of the house. His mother stands her ground, shouting that he shouldn't bother coming back at all. She then turns her anger toward Nathan, calling him out for faking an illness just to stay home and play games. A close-up reveals her sharp, intense gaze as she continues to scold her son for his laziness. Meanwhile, the father is already on the phone, happily arranging a social game now that he's successfully escaped the house. He walks away with a triumphant smile while his wife watches him from the window. Realizing she's been played, Nathan stands outside looking confused after a relative asks a young child where he learned certain behaviors. He tries to play peacemaker, reminding his cousin that they should be celebrating the new year instead of scolding the boy. The mother explains that her frustration stems from the fact that the young kid is already attempting to date at his age. The little boy looks up defiantly, frustrated that his parents are standing in the way of his romantic life. He clenches his fists, worrying out loud that he'll end up single for life, just like his uncle Nathan. Taken aback by the insult, Nathan immediately changes his tune and suggests the kid needs a physical reprimand after all. May walks through the city when her high heel suddenly snaps, causing her to lose her balance. Nathan appears just in time to catch her, offering a helping hand as she looks up in surprise. He scoops her up to carry her to a shoe store, leaving May impressed by his sudden display of reliability. The romantic moment fails when Nathan drops her, leading him to apologize and blame his shaky legs on skipping breakfast. He leaves to go buy her new shoes, leaving May to daydream about being the lead in a romance drama. Nathan returns with a burst of energy, determined to prove he's real boyfriend material. Nathan watches as a girl affectionately feeds her boyfriend because his arm is in a sling. Hoping for the same treatment, he uses a blunt object to intentionally fracture his own arm. He then proudly displays a formal medical report to prove his injury is real. Nathan approaches May and mentions that he is in the mood for some soup. May notices his heavy bandages and expresses sympathy for the pain he must be feeling. Instead of feeding him, she simply hands him a straw so he can finish the meal on his own. Frustrated that his plan failed, Nathan runs off to come up with a more convincing excuse for her attention. He returns to May claiming he just finished a marathon practice and is exhausted. He suggests that his injury makes it impossible for him to handle his own hygiene. May agrees that he needs help and immediately recruits another man to assist Nathan with his personal care. Later, May watches a television show where a character has a strong reaction to eating a lemon. She finds the character's contorted face adorable and charming. Seeing this, another man decides to eat a lemon himself to capture her interest. He experiences a massive physical reaction to the extreme sourness of the fruit. May bursts into laughter at the sight, which the man interprets as a sign of success. He feels certain that he is finally winning her over with his dedication to the bit. A narrator notes that people often mistake the physiological responses of fear for romantic attraction. Hoping to exploit this, a man leads a blindfolded May toward a surprise location. He removes the blindfold to reveal they are standing on a high, precarious suspension bridge. May recalls a sweet memory of a schoolmate who carved a heart out of an eraser for her. She describes the gesture to her friend as a beautiful and romantic keepsake. Nathan overhears and immediately begins scrubbing away at an eraser to replicate the gift. He waits nearby, hoping May will be impressed by the small token he left for her. May is instead horrified to find a dark, crumby-covered object stuck to the back of her phone. Nathan reflects on a time when his entire world felt like it was in black and white. He claims that meeting May was the only thing that brought color into his life. He weeps, stating that since she left him, he has lost the ability to see any colors at all. A police officer asks if this lack of color perception is why he decided to drive straight through a red light. Vivi declares that things are over between her and Richard because of his constant gambling habits. Richard ignores the warning and immediately heads to Nathan's place for a weekend of card games. His plan backfires when Vivi catches him bragging about hiding cash in his shoes and demands the money. After losing his hidden stash, Richard sulks over a cup of tea. He quickly checks to see if the coast is clear and if Vivi has finally departed. Thinking he's safe, he enthusiastically calls out for a round of poker. Nathan questions if he's worried about being caught in the act again. Richard argues that Vivi will be too distracted by shopping for accessories and salon visits to return. Nathan is left speechless by his friend's reckless logic. Elsewhere, a man buys a trendy lipstick as a gift for May. He comes up with a bizarre plan to wear the lipstick himself first to create an indirect connection. May is immediately suspicious when she sees the state of the gift. She quickly realizes what happened when she sees the bright red product smeared all over his face. Richard receives a call about an emergency and rushes to help. He arrives ready to do some repairs, but the woman tells him there's no hurry for the tools. When he asks about the crisis, she simply points toward the floor. The emergency turns out to be a pile of clothes that she expects him to help hand wash. Nathan prepares a giant plush toy as a surprise for May's birthday. His heart sinks when May explains how much she hates oversized, space-consuming toys. When she asks what he got her, Nathan is visibly sweating from the awkward situation. He tries to play it off by pretending he forgot her birthday entirely, promising a gift for later. May isn't buying the excuse and tells him there won't be another chance. Richard watches a movie and decides to mimic a suave confession scene. He meets up with a girl, who is curious about why he wanted to see her. He tries to look cool by biting down on a rose stem while leaning against the wall. The sharp thorns immediately cut his mouth, leading to a disastrous and painful mess. The girl is completely horrified by the sight of the failed romantic gesture. Richard is left alone in the rain, regretting his attempt at being smooth. Nathan spots May dropping some personal keepsakes and immediately claims they belong to him to prevent her embarrassment. He even tells a bystander that he bought the items for his mother to maintain the cover. May offers her thanks for the quick thinking, while Nathan internally congratulates himself on making a stellar impression. He believes that being a helpful presence is the key to winning her over. To keep the momentum going, Nathan takes the blame for a loud biological sound and even offers to pay for a vase that May accidentally broke. He is determined to be the ultimate fall guy for her mistakes. A young man discovers a sealed love letter and wonders about the identity of the secret admirer who left it. May points directly at Nathan, claiming the letter is his, which leads to a very awkward and confused reaction from the recipient. Ignoring May's claim, the young man puts a friendly arm around Nathan and asks if he would prefer Western or Chinese food for dinner. May is left fuming in the background as her prank completely misses the mark. Over at a restaurant, the clock on the wall indicates that the evening is winding down as it strikes 9 o'clock. A woman dressed for a night out signals the waiter to bring the check so they can wrap up their meal. The waiter informs her that her companion has already settled the entire bill in advance. Curious about the gesture, the woman asks her date why he decided to pay for everything and what he expects in return. With a confident smirk, the man claims that the pleasure of her company is more than enough compensation for the meal. The woman is visibly repulsed by the cheesy line, especially after noticing a guide on social tactics tucked into the man's pocket. Nathan watches May sleeping at her desk and initially finds it charming until he notices she is drooling in her sleep. Worried that someone else might notice and judge her, Nathan decides he needs to step in with another rescue attempt. He loudly announces to the room that the bodily fluid on May's face is actually his own, claiming he was the one drooling while looking at her. The surrounding group is horrified by the strange confession, and Nathan quickly realizes his attempt to help has only made things much worse. Feeling defeated, Nathan vents to his father about the constant stress and lack of appreciation in his daily life. He describes how his supervisor is constantly nagging and shouting at him, making every day a struggle. When asked why he tolerates the treatment, Nathan admits that the financial compensation is the only thing keeping him there. His father remains unsympathetic, suggesting that Nathan's situation is actually quite favorable compared to his own experiences. The father explains that while he deals with constant nagging at home for free, he also has to hand over his entire paycheck to Nathan's mother every single month. Later, Nathan attempts to entertain a group by telling a joke about a discrete biological mishap he had earlier. The three women in the group burst into laughter, leading Nathan to believe he possesses a masterful sense of humor. In reality, May and her friend are only laughing out of pity to avoid making the social gathering uncomfortable. The third woman joins in the forced laughter just to maintain the group's dynamic, despite not finding the story funny at all. Completely oblivious to the fake reactions, Nathan prepares another joke and wonders why he hasn't found a partner yet. Nathan's father lounged on the couch, looking disheveled with several days of facial stubble. Nathan suggested that his father should go shave to tidy up his appearance. The father dismissively asked why he should bother with grooming at all. Nathan was confused by the defensive reaction to a simple suggestion for a refreshed look. His father explained that if he looked groomed, he would lose his excuse to be a comfortable couch potato. Later, an anthropomorphic eagle visited a talent agency to seek professional guidance. An agent named Landy greeted the visitor with an overly enthusiastic and polished demeanor. Landy welcomed him to the agency, explaining their specialty is helping individuals market their unique talents. The eagle, known as Eagleman, appeared nervous and unsure about what it meant to sell his image. Landy assured him of his potential and introduced him to an assistant to begin a transformation. The makeover began with a styling session and precise measurements for a custom professional wardrobe. Dressed in a sharp tuxedo, Eagleman posed for high-quality headshots in a photography studio. An artist then worked on a digital tablet to create a stylized portrait to enhance his brand. The agency's design team worked tirelessly at their computers to finalize his digital presence. The final result was a completely transformed, clean-cut professional version of Eagleman. Suddenly, Eagleman's phone began to vibrate and ring incessantly with new notifications. He was shocked to find his device flooded with a massive amount of incoming work offers. Landy noted that the new branding successfully secured opportunities that were previously unavailable. The agent cryptically credited the sudden success to the specialized marketing strategy of the agency. Eagleman remained in disbelief at how quickly his professional prospects changed after the makeover. Landy showed the eagle exactly how they had presented his various skills to potential employers. Eagleman stared at the screen, overwhelmed by the professional quality of his new information. The profile highlighted his unique traits and displayed a gallery of his new corporate photos. Seeing himself this way helped him rediscover a sense of confidence and purpose he had previously lost. One offer suggested he could use his flight abilities to act as a high-speed aerial delivery expert. Another opportunity proposed he serve as a family-friendly brand ambassador for household goods. He was even considered for aerial advertising roles, flying banners over the city skyline. There were even prospects for him to take on specialized roles in cinematic action movies. His image was even suggested as a mascot or logo for high-performance aircraft. Eagleman was stunned that so many diverse career paths were now open to him. Landy explained that their core mission is to explore and polish the unique talents of every individual. By focusing on a personal brand, they help clients market themselves effectively to the right industries. Moved to tears, Eagleman felt that his life finally had a meaningful direction again. Landy encouraged him to simply pick the job offer that he found most appealing. The eagle declared with newfound passion that he was willing to take on any challenge. Impressed by this enthusiasm, Landy decided to hire Eagleman as the agency's own official brand ambassador. While Landy celebrated a successful recruitment, Eagleman remained slightly skeptical of the sudden internal job offer. In another social setting, Nathan claimed to a colleague that he used to be incredibly popular and was constantly being chased. When she asked for more details, he clarified that he was actually chased by geese, roosters, and dogs during his childhood holidays. The colleague was left completely speechless by his bizarre interpretation of social popularity. Nathan later prepared for a meeting with May, determined to prove he was a reliable and prepared man. When May arrived, she found Nathan looking physically exhausted and clutching his side. She immediately grew concerned and asked if he was feeling unwell. Nathan revealed that he had preemptively undergone an appendectomy just in case an emergency happened during their time together, leaving May horrified. Nathan attempts to play the tough guy while walking with May late at night. May isn't impressed, coolly stating that the scary movie they watched wasn't even frightening. Thinking he's found a loophole in her courage, Nathan asks her if she's brave enough to be his girlfriend. May doesn't hesitate to turn him down, claiming she simply isn't that daring. Nathan breaks down in tears over the rejection, complaining to his friend that girls are just too afraid to commit. At the office cafeteria, the two sit down for a meal of chicken and rice. Nathan shovels his food down as fast as possible to clear his own plate. He notices May hasn't touched her chicken yet, and decides to save her from the extra calories. Without a word of warning, Nathan starts poaching the meat right off her tray. While he enjoys his stolen snack, May stares him down with growing irritation. The tension rises as May's hand starts to shake from holding back her anger. Nathan proudly announces his supposed good deed, completely missing the fact that May is about to explode. May finally loses it, screaming that she always saves her favorite part of the meal for the very end. Later at the gym, Nathan proposes a bet to see who can run the longest on the treadmill. Nathan clinches a narrow victory and immediately tries to enforce a new wardrobe rule for their future workouts. The victory is short-lived, as Nathan discovers May chose to cancel her entire membership rather than deal with his nonsense.